I never found in any of the peripheral male characters their behavior to be unrealistic. I was like, I can see why guys do that. I can see myself doing that. I can see why that decision was made.
No. You let me tell you why you are so wrong.
We interrupt our program to bring you this important message.
Here comes a new challenger!
What is up, movie fans? Thanks for joining us on a special episode of Movie Talk with Warren and Aaron. I'm Warren, and that is Aaron. We've been through this a million times. That is Aaron. And we are joined by a very, very special guest today, performer, educator, activist, and fucking professional. That was her branding, not mine. But I completely co-sign it. Rain DeGrey. Rain, thank you for joining us on Movie Talk today.
Thank you for having me. You owe me 4 hours of my life, by the way.
Oh, wow. Okay,
Yeah.
So that's, I think
I'm
we
very
see
happy.
what Rain's rating is going to be.
I love you, and I watched both of these movies for you, and now I have some words for you, my friend.
Oh,
yes.
man. To be fair, to be honest with myself and everyone, I had no idea what to expect. It was always on my must-watch list. And, I didn't know what to expect going into it. I don't think the entire 4 hours of Nymphomaniac, the first two or the second two, with total doggy poo, but I have some thoughts. And I just figured Aaron and I weren't the best lens to view this through. So we decided to ask you for some help. And thankfully you answered that call. So I'm really curious to hear what you have to say.
I can give you
Me as
some
well.
help. All right.
Do you know a lot of? Have you followed Lars Von Trier before this movie at all? Just out of curiosity.
So I am familiar with him. I have actually always wanted to see these movies. Now I have. I am familiar with him, and I will be honest, I'm kind of in your boat in that I grew up in a house without a television, and I still don't watch TV, and I'm pretty limited in the movies I've seen. So I was actually delighted when you approached me and you were like, do you want to see a movie that you've wanted to see for years? But I had an excuse to actually do it. And then once I had finished watching it, I was like, I really need to talk about this. Yeah, it was, I don't know that I have actually seen, I have his page pulled up. I've literally seen none of his films. This was my first, but I very
right. We're all
cool. I'm aware of his other
page.
bodies of work because I have other Lars Von Trier films on my I gotta see this listing, like Antichrist, which is another Lars and Defoe team up, and then Melancholia with Kristen Dunst, which I think is like an apocalyptic sort of. That the vibe I get from his work is that it all has that same sort of gloss and style to it, in the same way Wes Anderson has his own sort of gloss and style to his work, but just not comedy, obviously. But just to give you a
yes, you're correct, and that's where I object. This man is such a despondent, miserable, and I'm goth as hell. Believe me, cut my heart and it bleeds black. I expect nothing of humanity. I've met humans. We're a troubled bunch.
A woman of my own heart.
An understatement.
Lars's perception of humans is so ridiculous and extreme that it makes his characters do things that nobody would ever do. And I understand when you have characters do one or two things that are illogical in order to facilitate a plot point. But when you have 4 hours of every single human being on screen saying, what's the worst, shittiest decision I could possibly make at this moment? And it just starts to stack up. And you're like, his lens, through a lens darkly. I believe, I've never met the man, his perception of human nature is so skewed that he writes these despondent, miserable things where everyone is just, I'm saying Wes Anderson has a flavor and it flavors his work. Lars's mindset flavors his work, and it's so dark and ridiculous. That's not how humans act.
Wait, I got it.
Okay,
I'm
so
putting
he's
the car
a
in park.
monster.
The emergency blinkers are coming to the side of the road. I need to stop the car really quickly. Because I hear that criticism. I do disagree with it in that I didn't think any of the male behavior. Me being the complete realist and pessimist, humanity is doomed. The fact that we've made it this far is just a miracle in and of itself. So I don't have any grandiose images of like good people out there, right? But I never found in any of the peripheral male characters their behavior to be unrealistic. I was like, I can see why guys do that. I can see myself doing that. I can see why that decision was made.
No, you are, let me tell you why you are so wrong. What
can we stop? I want to save this gold. We got to save this for the review portion, but we are off to an amazing start. I had to put the reins back on. All right, I'm merging back into traffic.
Okay. If people you're wrong, you're fucking wrong.
If people don't know,
I'm gonna prove it.
Thank you. We have a format to where we like to just kind of reference what we're looking at and interview a few other segments, but we might have to fly through those because I'm really interested. But the lens that I view this through is a New York City kid who's basically seen the worst. I grew up in New York City in the 80s, and I'm just like complete realist. Erin had tell her a little bit about your upbringing so you can see the lens.
I was a little sheltered, but not like, I don't know. It could have been worse in terms of like how sheltered it was. I went to like a private school but it was a small one for just mainly Christian kids, and what I saw was stuff I could get away with. So I went down. I grew up with TV on the opposite side of that. But because of some restrictions, I watched the most random specific shit that no one I knew of.
But
so I went down an anime rabbit hole, long story short.
You were like really religious in your upbringing though, right?
Yeah, the school was pretty religious and the family was pretty religious. Luckily I was able to just kind of get through that and make my own decisions. It didn't get abusive, but it got weird because like religion just kind of forces you to bottle up any negative stuff about yourself. It doesn't really teach you how to deal with anything emotionally in the correct way. It's more like give it all to God, and in a way that's kind of a form of bottling it up, depending on how helpful that is to you. It's way more helpful to my family than it is to me. I'll just say that.
So with that as kind of like a preface, Rain also runs a podcast, co-host of a podcast called the Dirty Talk Podcast, to which she deals with a lot of work as an activist and an educator. But she references that she grew up Amish, and I always thought that was tongue in cheek. No, you literally were not really exposed to the media or the arts, right?
I was born in a cult run by a fat bald guy with 9 wives who said he was the living incarnation of God. I grew up homeschooled with no TV, no radio, no newspapers, meditating on the side of a mountain under a pine tree, because the world is a vale of tears. And if you are enlightened and follow the guru's path, you too will reach the 7th stage of enlightenment. And I had no exposure to media or schooling. So I grew up super religious, but in a cult, wearing a lot of white robes and eating tofu. But otherwise, yeah, same thing. I left the cult when I was 16 because I don't know who God is, but I know he's not a fat, bald guy with 9 wives.
And I know people like to see God through film, but Lars Von Trier is not God. Clearly, I don't think this is a masterpiece at all, but you can see where he tries to like chef's kiss the artistic intention. With that said,
I think the only one who thought that was Lars Von Trier.
That I get a lot of that too. I get a lot of that too from the film. Yes. But what? So let's just jump right into movie news to help us understand the lead up to this. Erin, what are you actually? Rain, what are you watching? Are you like in your downtime? What are you YouTubing? What are you Netflixing? HBOing? What are you watching?
Okay. First off, what's downtime, my friend?
That's fair.
I do a podcast. I do an advice column. I teach classes. I have a Patreon. I have a day job as a social media manager. I do 7 days a week. I am bringing my book through its final drafts to actually get it publishable. I write articles. I guest on other podcasts. I work 7 days a week, but it's not work because I do what I love. But unfortunately, it means that my consumption of media with books, TV shows, and movies are somewhat limited because I don't have the bloody time. I'm too busy birthing my own brain babies.
Yeah.
However, I am currently fitting in time to watch Invincible.
Yes. Oh, I'm so happy.
Yes.
Oh,
I'm
the anime.
Very happy you just said that.
Dude, I'm a giant.
It's American.
I'm a giant comic book nerd. I did Comic-Con for 8 years until there was too many people and I couldn't breathe. My nerd credentials are strong. Right now, that's what I'm watching. And I finished The Good Place. I know I was a little late for that. Oh, and I really enjoyed The Umbrella Academy.
Umbrella Academy is on my to watch list.
Super
I
good.
have not watched that.
Would you recommend it?
You haven't seen The Umbrella?
Recommend it.
Oh my God. Oh
Highly.
my, you go, dude.
Okay. Well, guys, we gotta
it feels like the perfect mashup of a bunch of different comic book concepts, and then just it's its own thing. It's very well done.
It's so I cannot recommend it highly enough. The acting incredible.
And they have a remix to Billie Eilish's Bad Guys, and it's done in rock. Very good. Wait, how far have you? Yeah, did you? It was in a fight scene. It was very good.
Oh, really?
I'm trying to. I think second season.
Okay, second season. I might not have gotten to that one because I love Bad Guy. I would love to. That would be awesome. I'm gonna.
That's a good song. Billie Eilish is an amazing artist.
Oh, so good. Yeah. I've listened to that song on repeat until the people that live with me are like, "Could you please listen to a different song?" And the answer is no. We're gonna hear this for when the sea shanty came out. When they first released it, it was 10 straight hours, and I would listen to When the Weller Man Come for 8 straight hours until people living with me wanted to club me over the head repeatedly.
Yeah, that sounds like Guantanamo torture.
Okay, so here's the thing. I have ADHD, and when you find something soothing and it hits the dopamine in your brain, you're gonna I'm like, let's listen to the song.
It feels like a mental massage.
Totally. Yeah. So there was a lot of sea shanty. There was a lot of bad guys.
Well,
I played songs into oblivion on that.
Yeah, for sure. Hell yeah.
Like I can't hear it myself now.
Right.
I remember you and Chris talking about this. Me and Aaron touched on this a little bit, but in terms of like comic book nerddom fandom, Zak Snyder, who was the focus of our last podcast, released a tweet. Batman performing oral sex. Is it canon?
Oh, yeah.
Is it so?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Really quickly, 2 questions. Not that superheroes are incapable of that, right? Superman, committed relationship. Dr. Manhattan, known fucking adulterer. They're probably really, really good at that. Batman as a character has never I don't even think that he takes women's pleasure into account when he's with them. He's a trillionaire. Is Jeff Bezos good at oral sex? Do you imagine? No, that's Batman. And I think that's not canon just because it's out of Batman's character.
My theory was
okay. Yeah, go on. I'm listening.
Oh, my quick theory was that I feel like even if that's the case, at his worst, maybe he does it to get information or to help benefit himself somehow.
To benefit himself. I feel like to get information.
No. Here and I disagree. Here's the thing: Batman is incredibly fucking skilled. That man should be dead, and he's not. If he's so skilled at like kicking ass, why would he not be skilled at going down on someone? That man has all of the skills. He would not
because he's skilled at kicking ass. He hasn't. Tenderness isn't something Batman knows.
Okay, so
to play Joker's advocate, what temple did Batman train at to learn that skill? To master
in order to do that on a roof, in that scenario, to the point to where she's enjoying it. Who else has Batman gone down on? Right, like you can't do it your first time and being amazing at it. There's no one else in Gotham he has done that to.
He's a fucking fetishist. He is a trillionaire who dresses up in outfits and pounces around through the night, kicking ass because it gives him a boner. Batman can suck some pussy. I promise. Yes, you can. Yes.
Shit. Fair. All right.
I'm just saying, it's canon.
He's like a furry, but not like a leathery.
Like he's a perverse sexual fetishist. I'm telling you, come on.
Running around at night in latex, super hot.
Yes.
I'm talking about Bruce Wayne's character because that's the person doing the act. But all right, I'm of the thought.
No. Bruce Wayne is a sad, hurt man who is seeking comfort, and there's no better place you can get comfort than your face buried from where you came from. That's where everyone's trying to get back to. I'm telling you, that is a skilled man. Of course that man can fucking go down on Catwoman. He would extract information. He would blow her mind. It's also very comforting. I'm telling you, canon. You look on your face. You know I'm right. The thing is, I hate to admit I'm right. No one's going to judge you. Yeah, I'm just saying.
I love the idea of Batman going on like, I'm not having a good day. Get over here.
Yeah, of course.
Can you imagine? Like, look, if you look at that scene in that image, they're on a rooftop somewhere. There's some like person watching's like, "Are you fucking kidding me? Is that
because they're fetishists? They're perverts.
They're exhibitionists
dressing up in skin tight outfits and bouncing around at night. Come on, of course they want to be seen.
Okay,
please, yes.
That it's said that way, it sounds inevitable.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's kinky as hell. That dude can fucking throw down. Yes. Yeah. And here's the thing. If you wanna unpack the baggage a little bit more, why is that considered the most shameful and distasteful and unmanly act? I have a book of Tijuana Bibles made in the 1920s. And when you look at it, they have characters doing all sorts of fucking, and the forbidden thing, the most gross, disgusting, vile, embarrassing thing that a man could do is go down on a woman. Why? That is some heavy sexism right there. You look at these Tijuana Bibles, they've got Donald Duck, fucking Mickey Mouse, anything you can possibly imagine. But heaven forbid anyone does any yodeling in the valley. That's like the worst thing in the world. That is some sexism to unpack right there. Can Batman throw some serious pipe? His pipe game solid, tongue game also solid, I promise.
So if you want to think of Batman, and so I agree with you on that end, right? Because there are definitely assholes who take up no, this is not canon, because they come through it from that perspective, and those people can fuck off. At least my slant, I'm trying to be comedic with it. But if you think about Batman, I think about the Christian Bale Batman. Christian Bale is Psycho. Batman's absolutely railing his wife, looking at himself in the mirror. That's Batman to me.
Okay, you're thinking of American Psycho and Batman Begins.
You're combining American Psycho with Batman, and Christian Bale is one of many people who's taken a crack at Batman. I think that you're having flashbacks to American Psycho and like, yeah, babe, that's right.
That's Bruce Wayne's circle. That's Bruce Wayne's friend group. Those are the people that Bruce Wayne hang out in his spare time.
Bruce Wayne does not hang out with American Psycho. No, wrong.
He fights American Psycho. He stops him, I think.
Yes.
Aaron, what are you watching?
Aaron's right. I'm sorry.
I've seen American Psycho. He goes crazy in that film. I feel like he's a Joker character if you wanted to like paint that movie and just call it Joker. You know what I mean?
I'm talking about the class of it all. He's he is the 1% of the 1%. Yeah. All right. Now we're in a fucking fighting mood. Okay, cool. Aaron, what are you watching?
Canon.
Mm-hmm.
Canon. Accept it. Canon. Go on. I'm listening, Aaron. You're wrong.
Here's the thing. I feel like he would do it. I feel like he would anyway. But for what I'm watching recently, I went back. Lauren and I are watching, she wanted to show me Inuyasha, and I wanted to show her an anime. And then I wanted to show her Hunter x Hunter. So we've just basically been switching episodes on that. And losing a lot of time to it. But it's been great. I'm liking Inuyasha more than I thought, even though every episode is like, do you love me? I'm a demon boy! And he slashes and
Speaking of furries, right? Inuyasha, is he a Ninetales or some shit like that?
Quick side note, there's a lot more furry or animal anthropomorphic people anime today than ever, for some reason. You got, like, I could list off a handful right now.
What do you mean for some reason? Some reason. I can tell you why, baby. I can tell you why. This world is a veil of tears. This world is, everything sucks. You are walking in an ocean of shit up to your chin. What do we fantasize? Oh, I'd like to be an animal. I'd like to be anything other than me, because being me every day is a full-time job and it fucking sucks. What would it be like to be a fox? A horny fox. That's what it is. It's D&D, it's gaming, it's getting into anime. You're trying to get out of here because this sucks.
Escapism is real, and you'll never solve
and that's
the problem
why people are first.
You'll never solve the problem of drug use until you get rid of unhappiness, which also ultimately comes, we're all hobbling on the same crutch of that, with some form of like escaping reality. And one of my favorite quotes is from Hunter S. Thompson, and he goes, you know, man who makes a beast of himself gets rid of the pain of being a man. And he's talking about his heavy drug use to that extent, and a lot of it in the cosplaying, in the VR, in the D&D, in the video game play, even in the trance of watching a movie. We project ourselves into these scenarios if they're relatable, and it's because life is like the Vietnam War, and we're walking through like a shit field, and you know, our entertainment hobby is the M16 we're carrying over our head while we try to traverse the shit monsoon that we're sludging through, just to get shot at the end.
And that's why people are furries.
So that's an incredibly fascinating viewpoint that I didn't think about before, but I love the idea that it's involved with escapism, and because I guzzle that shit. I can, video games, comic movies, TVs. I mainly deal with that, honestly, in a conversation.
I hope it's not from the same. I hope it's not the same reason. But 2 days ago, a new trailer came out for a child's book adapted to the big screen. Clifford the Big Red Dog is now being made into a live action CGI movie. Yeah. I don't know what to expect with that, or it's going to be like Scooby-Doo or like My Cousin Marley and Me and shit.
The dog is
gonna
big.
Be Marley and Me.
It's big. It's a big dog. There you go. I just gave you the whole movie.
That was one of those books I never dove into as a kid. I was like, that's basically what I saw. Oh, cool. Family's got a big red dog. Sweet.
Do you know how hard it would be to clean up that dog shit every day?
Their neighbors hate them. Their neighbors hate them.
Need a crane.
You've got a shovel. You need to like get a dumpster. Like you can't maintain it. The food bill alone, your house would just smell of like ripe feces always. It's impossible.
We need
what I'm saying.
An industrial level crane.
Let's be nice about it, right? Just the urine alone. You've like the smell of dog urine around your house.
I don't care how nice Clifford is. Like he's making oceans piss on the daily. Like he goes outside to pee, and you're like, dude, grab an umbrella. There's
it's
logistical
eroding.
problems.
The smell is eating the paint off of your house.
If those directors have any balls, they should do a Marley and Me and have that movie end the same way. I won't spoil Marley and Me if you've seen it, but let's just say the dog isn't getting a sequel. And so I think that would be the most artistic take to do with Clifford, because what else are you going to do other than what you just already defined to us the whole film? Big dog.
Money. Ooh. There's going to be a sequel. There's all sorts of unanswered questions. How big is the dog? The dog's fucking big. Clifford the Big Red Dog Part 2. Because let me tell you, the dog's big.
We've already settled the fact that like the art and money intersection enables a lot of you can justify a lot of bullshit when you just throw money at artists, right? Like whether or not it's good, that people need to survive. If you're willing to pay for something, someone's willing to do it. Someone's willing to create it. So when we ask these questions of the films, like why would they even make this? Like
money.
Humanity's shitty. Why would they make this new one? The Witches, which I recently saw, which is a remake of the old Angelica Houston Witches remake, which I loved. I thought I was gonna hate this because I thought it was a movie that didn't need a remake, but I honestly like it wasn't bad. They changed a lot of it. Anne Hathaway's not crazy, but I found that in my own mind, the old one was way scarier, even objectively. Like I'm obviously a 30-year-old man now, and I was like 8 when I watched it. But I'd even realize, like, go to say that the older version was way more, less CGI. Literally, Angelica Houston had the witch's nose. It's terrifying. Absolutely terrifying. So I just watched the remake.
The thing is, it is based on the book by Ronald Dahl, and if you read any of his work, that man hated children. His books are terrifying. He hated the fact that he loathed children, and he got pigeonholed as a children's author, money, right? And all of his books are super grim. The kids are completely fucked. They're all monsters the whole time. And the guy ended up having an entire career writing children's books while hating kids. So of course the movie was terrifying. Have you read the book? Like it's
no. R.L. Stein, but not a happy ending. Fuck.
Kind of like the Brothers
Grimm was
like
a big
Cinderella.
Part of my childhood. So we usually go through and we, movie news, what are you guys watching? Just to help us sort of frame through what's going on in context when we lead up to this film and timestamp it, right? We don't, I have no idea when this is going to be released or we're going to see it. Aaron and I work extremely slowly. So by the time you see it, it could be 2022. Just kidding. But the next segment we're going to be moving into is we're going to try to undo a lot of the perceived problems in Nymphomaniac with our special guest, Rain DeGrey. And, we're going to move into the segment, Let's Make a Movie. So, Rain, what we're going to do now is kind of make a movie from scratch. Aaron and I are movie producers, directors, not directors, but we're the studio. We've done a few of these hypothetical films before, love story, horror, comedy. This one, I think we want to make I don't know, the feel that I'm pulling out from the community, Aaron, is that with the success of 50 Shades of Grey, or other things like blue is the warmest color, some a little more subtle, or maybe harking back to Sex and the City days, we want to make something that's adult themed, but not necessarily or expressly overtly sexual. I have no idea what the plot is. This is the ideation meeting. Do you have any thoughts of what kind of movie you would want to make, especially if the goal is to like fix the problems in Nymphomaniac?
Let's start with genre.
All right, yeah, what genre is this going to be? This is obviously not going to be a horror. Is it going to be funny in any sense, or is this going to be straight up drama?
I like a little humor. I'm blanking on the name.
I don't know.
You're going to need to edit this out. What was the movie that had Kate Winslet and Jim Carrey?
It's Sunshine of a Spotless Mind. Yeah.
Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. So Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind is kind of like how I don't necessarily want drama. I want a little comedy and whimsy. And I also like a touch of surreal in it. Wes Anderson is one of my favorite directors of all time. I don't mind when people act implausible, but if you're going to act implausible, it needs to also still be believable. And I feel that's where Nymphomaniac went wrong, is that while people were acting implausibly, it happened over and over again. And the unbelievable things started to stack up to, you're like, this has no bearing on reality whatsoever. Where if you do Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, they're like, there's memory chips in your childhood, and Kate Winslet looks amazing with Manic Panic. So I like a little whimsy. So if there's something,
no, that's a great
comedy.
It's a drama with dry light comedy, because the comedy in Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind was largely Jim Carrey driven, right? Like that's what you get when you cast an actor like that. I mean, he was
very subdued and understated. He wasn't doing Jim Carrey. He was actually acting. And I feel a lot of the comedy came from just the way that the movie was filmed. I don't think that Jim Carrey was carrying the comedic weight of that film. He was not doing, just like you would see occasionally Robin Williams, where he would do not Robin Williams. So he's Jim Carrey is more versatile than people give him credit for.
100%. As a dramatic actor,
absolutely.
As a dramatic actor, he is amazing. He is world class. Well, moving towards, like, do we want to decide on a setting for that, or do you want to ideally archetype your leads, female, male, 2, 3, multiple stories? Like, let's have a setting for this dry drama, light humor with some surrealness. Where is this taking place? When is this taking place? Is it colonial? Is it sci-fi future? Or is it current day?
It is an incredibly large rundown mansion set in a forest, so that you can have a lot of outdoor nature scenes, a lot of really strong blue sky, and the house has seen better days and is decaying. There is a backstory with the house where the grandfather, who had achieved a lot of money through shipping, ended up being an alcoholic and drank all the money away, and they no longer have the ability to maintain the house. There's a lot of weird shit in the house. It has slightly spooky, implausible things when you're going through the rooms. And the main character is the granddaughter, who ends up meeting someone in town who can fuck her brains out, because we've got to have a romance, and extended languid scenes of banging in the multiple rundown rooms in the mansion. But there is a hidden secret, and I'm pulling this all out of my ass. And
this is really good. I was like, did you already write this?
No, this is spontaneous, man. I'm ad-libbing it. But you just asked me. Okay, and if they can unravel the secret, which is that the grandfather actually stashed a whole bunch of money, but he was so alcoholic and scrambled in the head that in his DTs, he forgot where he stashed the money. So the main character ends up falling in love, unraveling the mystery of her alcoholic grandfather, who had his heart broken because the woman he fell in love with died of tuberculosis. And if you can find where the money is stashed, the house can be re-transformed and the main character can fall in love.
All right, we got a lot here to work with.
Okay.
This is great.
Oh.
So we've got 3 characters. We got the grandfather, we've got the granddaughter,
her inept parents,
lover,
grandfather's dead.
Parents,
inept parents. We've got the faint tuberculosis love, faint love, old flashback love.
And lots of white robes and dark filming. Yeah, like sepia toned.
Okay. So now we've got an aesthetic sepia. Nice. All right. Cool. Current. So we didn't say a time. I'm going to say, do we want this in relatively current time? But since it's in a country, technology, you might see an offhand car or something. But I guess for style purposes, current day.
Could it be ambiguous?
Lightly ambiguous. I'm thinking the 1980s. So you just see like people dressed like just like a little weird and off, but it's like a small town. So it's not like heavy 1980s, but just like a lot of big hair is what I'm seeing.
Okay. And I think that we can portray that and leave the ambiguity as a part of the surrealness of the film, where you get to the end and it's like, when was that? Because you have no frame of time reference. And the movie is jumping back and forth with the flashbacks, which makes it even harder for you to discern a time or a period. Okay, I like this. So now we've got 2 young women and 1 young man and some older people. So let's start with the grandfather. So we've got like a dry sort of feel. And this is where Aaron and I can sort of help out with. Given the loose idea, Aaron, who do you think would be a good cast as like a drunken grandfather who maybe had some tender moments, but you likely will see as a young man? I'm going to throw out Oscar Isaac. I really like this guy. And we can salt and pepper him up, and he can also go back to being mid-30s. He might be out of our budget, but I think we can try.
The makeup better be on point for that, because that's I get a little iffy sometimes trying to age an actor solely with makeup. Sometimes it looks a little, not good. Other times it's like really interesting. There's one movie with Tilda Swinton in it where her makeup was just on point. She looked like she was an old 90-year-old man, and that was the intent. And I didn't even recognize her. Regardless,
if we play this right, we don't have to show him. We can show his headstone and reference him. We don't have to show the old man at all. Or we can I guess it depends on the actor you choose, right? We can focus on the old man a lot more. Or if that's do you think that who is the most important character in this, Ray? Obviously the young woman, right?
The young woman is the most important character.
Then
I'm thinking for the grandfather, Bryan Cranston.
Oh, he's good. And he's old. He's gotten way older now.
From Breaking Bad, I think that he could really crush like an alcoholic, shipping magnate grandfather who fucked up the family fortune.
Have you seen
Aaron?
him in
I know
he's good at playing a disgruntled older character. No, you're fine. Yeah. I'm just saying, I totally agree with that, because it feels like he's good at playing disgruntled old characters. So
this would be our 6th film. We've got some notoriety with our studios. Can we get a Bryan Cranston?
Yes, of course you can. Yeah. Dream big. Yes, you can.
He was in Trumbo.
So his stock is declining. But Bryan, if you're watching, if you find yourself on the Deep Dark YouTube web, we'd love to have you on. But we got to face the reality that you are now within our budget.
Oh, you're really not selling that pitch, Bryan. We're fucking awesome, and we have a role for you that will win you an Oscar.
No, this is so yes, this is our studio's Oscar attempt. Before we had done looser stuff, this is our Oscar attempt. We want to make a masterpiece. Yeah. All right, yeah, that's the aim here. Mm-hmm. So the young woman, Bryan Cranston's granddaughter, I think would be an important character. I don't know what age you want to most important character. So this person is going to have a journey of falling in love, dealing with the stress of basically the weight of this foreclosure on her, and is going to have to balance out being a professional, being the person taking up the mantle in the house, with also like maybe an Indiana Jones sort of discovery. I'm not saying that she's like dangling off the side of the roof, but maybe like her hobby is reading and puzzles and stuff.
A little bit.
Maybe, she finds the house is old and dilapidated. There might be some crumbling infrastructure that, entraps her. So, there might need to be some of that, but who can encompass all of this?
What's this behind the drywall? what's her name? She plays. Okay, you're not gonna like the movies I reference her in, but she was in Jungle, the new one with The Rock. Welcome to the Jungle.
Oh my god.
Oh, the brunette with the abs.
I love her name.
Yeah,
Well, not her name. I love her acting. She
I
also
like
plays
her abs.
Nebula.
She plays
also
Mira?
Nebula in Guardian. No.
Why don't we
I
just
thought
look
you were
her
gonna
up?
say
we
Heard.
all have phones, man. Just look up her name so we're not struggling here.
Googling it. I'm
Google,
Googling
just
it.
Google
already.
it. Google it.
Nope.
Not Rosario Dawson.
No,
Which would be a
sure.
good fit, but-
Karen. Oh, I knew it was Karen. Karen Gillan. Do you know her?
Okay. Yeah, I'm only familiar with her work from the trailer for.
She's Scottish.
Scottish. Oh, okay.
Oh yeah, she was in Guardians of the Galaxy. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Oculus.
I think
that's the movie, the horror movie she was in, right? That you were. Were you going to say that? Because I know she's done other stuff for Karen.
She was in The Big Short. She's got a great resume. Again, this movie, we've got two actors, and
it's a fucking Oscar bait. I'm seeing her as a little Tomb Raider Angelina Jolie, but like a younger version. And I frankly feel that she could carry the entire movie on the weight of her abs. And also,
she's also in
her
Black
acting
Widow.
skills. Oh yeah,
Really?
Yeah, I believe.
Well, we
so.
know she's strong enough.
Right.
I think, you know what? I think this is a good fit for her, Karen Sheila Gillan. After, the success of the Avengers, she wants to stop doing comic book stuff and show the world that like she's needs to be taken serious. I think this is a good pick.
I've seen her.
I don't know what's happening. Aaron usually throws out dog shit suggestions. You're raising the bar.
Oh yeah.
Here,
okay. Show a clip, editor, of me not doing that.
We don't have that much time. But Karen Gillan.
I think Karen Gillan's been
a
great actress in many other things than Guardians of the Galaxy, and I didn't even see the Welcome to the Jungle movies, or Jungle Book movies. I know it's not that. Anyway, but
welcome to the jungle.
No, it's the jungle. It's the jungle, I believe.
It's just the jungle.
Again, we
anyway,
can Google this shit. How are we doing movies?
Jumanji, man. It's Jumanji. She played Martha in Jumanji.
There we go. I'm sorry, I blocked it out of my.
We don't know what movies you've done. We keep calling it the Jungle Book. Come be on our movie. You got to polish the pitch a little more than that.
Well,
it makes sense.
Now, who is her partner? Who is her lover? What do we want to cast in this? What would, in Nymphomaniac, it wasn't until the end where she kind of subdued a younger woman. But like, I don't know where you, Rain, what do you think? Tom Holland? He's like 5'1". I'm gonna have to veto that. He's not. It doesn't work. It doesn't work.
Oh,
that's hilarious.
He is dating like the hottest. He doesn't mind craning. He doesn't mind craning his neck up. Tom Cruise could do it. Robert Downey Jr. is like 5'7". Like
Jamie Bell. You're too old. Well, is it?
My point is that you can work around being short. Being short is not a death sentence, dude. It's all about angles. It's fine. Also, it doesn't matter if you're shorter than her. It's fucking 2021. You can be any goddamn height you want.
We deal in fiction though, and sometimes when you see things, we want to talk about realistic behavior.
Put him on a box. It'll be fine. He'll have lifts in his shoes. Have you ever seen the male actors when they're walking around in fucking platforms? It's fine.
Propose another
about
actor
those
for you
recently.
Let me propose another actor before we commit.
And put him in platforms. It will be fine.
What about
okay, I'm listening.
Jamie Ball, the character who had the crop and the whips for our main actress in Nymphomaniac in Volume 2.
No,
you don't like him?
Oh, no,
he's a good actor. He's a great actor. Not, that was a bad scene.
Was grossly miscast, and he is an amazing actor to have pulled that off. But he was. It was. I believe that he's a good actor. In fact, he could actually probably be good for this part. He should not have been cast as a dominant. That's so. Okay. Oh, I have.
That's fast.
Just in turn, I tend to agree with that right there. Just it seemed that entire section seemed off to me because of him being in that. So I 100% agree.
Yes.
But he was in one of my favorite films, which is called Filth. I don't know if you've seen it. It's James McAvoy. It's also a Scottish film. And he plays a degenerate cop, coked out, like stripper.
That movie's pretty fucked up.
Like, yeah, it's a really fucked up movie, and he still kind of steals the scenes that he's in. And this is my suggestion for him is just based on affordability. So if you want to go with Tom Holland, I'm gonna have to go to the box. I'm gonna have to go to the board and say, look, our consulting producer is really running up the budget on this thing. We got to rent a castle. We got to get Bryan Cranston.
What about Cillian Murphy? Cillian Murphy would be good.
He's
slightly older.
He's more than Tom. That's the guy from Peaky Blinders and from Batman. He's a great actor.
He's great.
Great actor.
He's wonderful.
Come on.
Although I think
that doesn't change our budget at all.
I couldn't believe him as a love interest though. He's just a little like he's meant more for like sinister or ominous roles.
In this setting, I think he would work.
This is sinister is the thing. Okay. Like there's just this ominous, creepy he's just gonna carry the creepy on his cheekbones. Trust me, he could do
Murphy.
it.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
I'm okay with compromising on that. Compromise, we'd love to have you our first choice, Cillian. Don't let your agent tell you otherwise. So now you're starting to see the endearing but drunk Cranston with his daughter who is loving, granddaughter loving. Cillian's got a darker look. Is he the person we start to introduce the surrealness around? Because or do we save the comedy and that sort of levity and the other mystical actions for the inept parents?
No, I like the fact that Cillian is like, the thing is the ominous is always there. The parents are not super engaged. In fact, I think also the parents are only flashbacks. They're dead too. Grandfather's dead. The parents are dead. She has the weight at like 22 of this oppressive house that she cannot afford. And she's also never truly fallen in love. And she's in this remote.
So she goes to the house to enjoy it before she realizes she has to give it up. So that can be sort of like her romanticizing.
No. She grew up in the house. The house is her responsibility. The grandfather has died. The parents could not deal with the house. There is spooky, atmospheric, slightly surreal stuff happening with her parents dying at the age of 22, 24, the responsibility of this house falling on her. She doesn't know what to do. She finds Cillian Murphy in the town. They start falling in love as the main plot, but the subplot is when he starts interacting with her in this house that is slightly mystical and spooky, weird things start to happen. Her relationship with him is what starts to trigger the weirdness.
I think the triggering is flashbacks. If we want to make spooky work in this film, I don't think we should do overt spooky. I think it should be her infantile mind reverting back to the childhood memories and being scared of a big drafty mansion. So the tension is that you think you saw a ghost, or you think, but it's like, again, her childhood mind playing up on her, and it's recalled with this guy who keeps bringing flashbacks and memories of her grandfather and things. I like this. All right, we've got that. Now the dead parents, we don't have to discuss how they pass, we do, or whatever, but who are these people? These are the people who, so we, the audience, are looking at the thing through her, the reality of everything through her. Does she see her parents as a big joke? Are they overbearing? Or like this is where the comedy is coming from, these people.
The comedy. Well, I'm seeing them
very
dying. Dry. They die in a car accident off a bridge when she's 19. And
now Rain. We're better than that. We're better than that. No. I got a veto.
No. And the reason, fuck you. And the reason her parents die is that the mother is sucking the dad's dick, and that's why the car crashes.
Did you see Army of Darkness? Did you?
No. What am I missing?
Or Army of the Dead? Or
is that the plot of Army of the Dead?
That's the opening of Army of the Dead.
It is?
Is it?
Yeah. Oh. Yeah. Yes, it is.
They were in a military convoy.
The parents are sucking someone's dick?
No, not caused the accident.
I did not know
random
that.
people. Yeah, they caused a zombie apocalypse because the dude was getting roadhead. Hilarious.
I did not.
Ran into a convoy.
I have not seen a lot of movies.
Totally forgettable movie.
I apologize that I came up with a premise that is. I lightly poached the premise from Beetlejuice, if you must know.
Oh, I like it.
Well, because that's how they died, like off the bridge, right? I'm like, how would the parents die? Yeah.
I like it. We're not going to include the dog on the thing. Maybe it's
a handy. Maybe she's not. She's older. Like she's in her 40s.
No.
A distinguished handy.
Yes.
She's going down. We're getting full shots of this in the car. It's going to be a nightmare to rig, but we're doing this. That was the amazing redemption. So I was like, car accident. Who hasn't seen that a million times? You're like, car accident due to roadhead. It's like, all right, a little bit less. Okay. And I think it works as a nice shot.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be
going,
so
roadhead, you say.
Yeah.
This film.
How did your parents die? Oh, blowjob gone bad. Right? Come on.
She doesn't know that. Her Bryan Cranston probably knows that.
No, she knows. That's part of it. How did your parents die? How did you inherit this fucked up spooky mansion? My mom was sucking my dad's dick and they plunged off a bridge and died. Oh yeah, that's therapy bills right there. Of course she knows.
I can see her. You know what? I'm warming up to this, and I can see that being her icebreaker. That's her icebreaker to Cillian, and he's like, "There's something to this girl, to this woman." There it is again.
Oh, tricky.
He takes after her mother.
All right. Okay. Who are these? They don't even matter. We can cast them as featured extras, or do we want to put somebody of note in there? There's the dialogue so limited. It's flashbacks. It's not going to be worth casting.
I don't think that the parents are like the main. I mean, they're a setup as to why she has to deal with the burden of this decaying mansion, but they're mainly shown in flashbacks. However, just like with Nymphomaniac, my favorite scene in Nymphomaniac, the one redeeming thing out of that 4 hours of steaming crap, is Uma Thurman's scene. Where she
I love that. Oh yes, I love that. That was a mess.
So my point is, you can have a minor role, and if someone plays it well, if you're only going to watch one part of Nymphomaniac, watch Uma Thurman's scene. I think is some of the best acting I've ever seen her do. Like the entire time, I was like, "Are you kidding me?" So even if the parents budget, this is going to win an Oscar, so we don't need to worry about budget, baby. We don't need to worry about it. It's fine. It's fine.
Sky's the limit.
At this point we're gambling now with our budget, but fine, whatever. The spooky, right? There's not like we already said, there's memories and flashbacks and haunted sort of visions, but not really spooky. The jumping, people are gonna get worried when they hear things in the night, or the actress's reaction to phantoms in their own mind, and also like a violent car crash at the beginning of a very tender moment between a couple in a car that just comes out of nowhere. So I'm liking this. The last person we need to cast, we need to recognize whether this is an older person or Bryan Cranston's younger love interest. Is Bryan Cranston's love interest who passes away of tuberculosis? Who is that? Is that an older or is that a younger person?
No, because this was the love of his life, but she was like 20 and she got TB, and he never ended up getting a chance to marry her, and that was the great burden and trauma that he carried. That's why he became an alcoholic. So it's
was this her castle that would have been that he moved into?
No, he became a shipping magnate and dealt a lot with railroads and did import-export.
He wanted to leave. He wanted to escape. He didn't want to be in one place because too many memories.
Yes. Correct.
Okay.
His great trauma was the love of his life, who unfortunately died at the age of 20, and he never got to marry her, and he was just never satisfied. So obviously, in order for him to have a granddaughter, he married someone else. But
he remarried.
She couldn't. No. He
and
never
neglected everybody.
Yes. Yeah.
That's why the parents are so fucked up, and that's why no one knows where documents are and things like that, because like they were a really disconnected family. Okay.
Yes.
Who is this person? Who is this young lady that really, this young woman is also going to give us hints at what time period this is.
Right. Around 20, very pale, brunette, a lot of white gowns.
I wish Kristen Stewart was a good actress, because I would say that if she was, but
she's not.
I'm thinking I don't want to cast Anne Hathaway, but that's who came to mind.
She does good work.
Ooh,
She commits to the role.
Yeah. I mean, I don't understand why she's so disliked. I mean,
I hear mixed.
I'm not like Yeah, but like she could do. She has the cheekbone. She has that like pensive atmosphere. She's not like quite 20, but like I could still see her being able to pull off a role of being the love of this man's life and then dying tragically and shaping his entire life as a result. Yeah, it could be Anne Hathaway. Fuck it.
Do we want?
Fuck it.
No. Sorry.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. Hey, man. You vetoed my car accident and I made a convincing pitch, but I can't pitch as strongly for Anne Hathaway. Sorry. Who do you got then? I've carried a lot of the weight here, man, and I don't know actors that well.
So I'm gonna revisit this because I'm gonna revisit the choice because it's really slow, and I think this fits her style. Also, you know, her Twilight co-star has gone on to do very serious, very successful roles. I do want to surface Kristen Stewart as a potential option.
Really?
No.
Okay, Robert Pattinson is way more skilled than Kirsten.
He is.
Or Kristen.
That's fair. But I think this could be a role where she takes you by surprise.
I'll settle for Alison Brie. She's a good actress if the role is like, well, no, she's not good at being happy. She's good at being very miserable in films. She did Room.
Stewart,
what?
She's just
Alison
too miserable.
Brie is a good choice.
But Kristen Stewart isn't even good at being sad. Have you actually seen Twilight or clips of it? Like, it's hilarious. She's just like, she looks nauseous or like the entire time.
She's about to puke.
She is
and
a
she
style.
Doesn't want to be there. Yeah.
And you can't put a style in everything. You can't put a style in everything.
That doesn't work for me. So no, I'm vetoing that. Sorry.
All right. Yeah, no. Alison Brie was just recently Planetina on Rick and Morty. I think that's a good, not because, you know, I'm also a fan of Rick and Morty, but she was also in Glow. Has done How to Be Single.
I meant
and she was
Brie Larson.
She's the Black Widow.
I meant Brie Larson by mistake, but I love Alison Brie way more than her actually because of Glow and Community and
Brie Larson.
Morty, but that's recent.
You're saying
no, Alison Brie. Alison Brie is
me
my
off
vote.
In front of Rain. That's what you're saying.
What? Brie Larson she did great in Room, but that's the only thing I've loved her in. Like.
No, we're doing Alison Brie. I'm calling up the publicist.
I'm going to let the two of you figure this out because I have to pee.
All right.
Fair enough.
All right, dude. So Alison Brie is the young Cranston's love interest.
Yes. I agree with Alison Brie, but I'm just saying you should see Room. That's her only passable role. If you're thinking of Captain Marvel alone for her, it's not going to end well. You're not going to like
as Rain put it, the flashbacks are going to be sepia tone. They're going to be very clearly out of this time. So I think like she has a look that we can place in any decade.
Yeah.
Also,
and a voice.
She just had a really
1920s or today.
Yeah. She also had a really compelling love story with Morty of all people, right? If you can make Morty an empathetic like love interest character, I'm thinking you can make young Bryan Cranston, you can add some stakes to his love. So yeah, I think Alison Brie is the perfect. So we got this thing cast. All right, two things left to do.
Agree.
The first thing, who's directing this? Yeah, this is the one we take.
I would like to. I'm trying to think who does
Keep in mind
kind of ethereal and whimsical as good as Wes Anderson. If you couldn't choose Wes Anderson for some reason, I'm trying to think who does just a good job at that environment.
Right. I don't want Wes Anderson, but I want ethereal and whimsical. So who's non-Wes Anderson but can kind of have that same flavor? I
think
I want to say M. Night and his.
I'm gonna go. No, I'm gonna throw out Guillermo del Toro because he can make it scary without being overt. He can make really spooky like aesthetic on the castle. Everything will have and people will go in with the assumption that this is a horror, but you'll get to see him, deal with two humans in a romantic setting, which he does with Shape of Water and Corpse Bride. But it has that, was it magic realism? Like there's something really not right here that everyone accepts as normal.
I love 100 Years of Solitude. I love magic realism. Have either of you ever read 100 Years of Solitude? It's
not that one.
Oh my God. It is one of the iconic books for me. Magic realism is my jam. Yeah, that's a great choice. Yeah,
All
I
right.
approve.
If you've
All
seen
right,
Crimson
so
Peak,
now,
that fits so perfect. Crimson
Rain,
Peak. Yeah.
what are you naming this? What's the name of this piece?
Oh fuck.
That's the appropriate response.
Kind of our catchphrase at this point.
That's hard. I could come up with a
Lover's
plot,
Home.
but like, no,
I throw out a
no,
shitty
no,
one,
Start
and then we
throwing
can
it
grow
out.
from there.
See what
that's
fits.
too trite.
Haunted Desire. No.
Sounds like a
Longing?
bad porn.
Because she's, in a lot of ways, she is revisiting her grandfather's romance, right? Like it's happening all again.
Yeah. And this time it actually has a chance for her not to die tragically of tuberculosis. Wow.
Anything?
Right.
That's really because like what sucks is that it doesn't really, it shouldn't be about the cover, but it's all about the cover, and a movie can live or die on just the title, and it doesn't matter how good the movie is. Like if the title throws people off, like the title's the most important thing.
All right. So in my artistic Oscar-worthy film, I think we want to call this filial piety, right? That's a term for respecting
Googling piety.
No. Here's the thing. I know the term. I understand exactly what you're saying. People are stupid, and people are not even going to be able to. They're not going to be able to spell it. They're not going to be able to look it up. They're not going to be able to Google it.
I cannot spell it.
Our audience is the Academy, not fucking Fast 9.
Well, then we should be paying. Then we should dip all the actors and just pay the people at the Oscars to get them to give us an award.
Actually, you know what? That's right. We're gonna scrap the film. We're gonna make a short, and we're just gonna use that $1 million budget to fatten the pockets of the Oscar Academy fucking judges. That's probably
we'll make an Oscar party, drunken them up.
Now you're thinking, put the budget in some gift baskets.
This is a hard one.
Yeah, it's that's a hard one. But I kind of am thinking like, like The Shape of Water is like a strong title. So it's like, not like The House on the Hill, but I just want something spooky, but romantic. But it's like Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. What does that mean? I mean, that's a fucking
titles. And honestly, it makes you realize how bullshit titles are. Titles honestly don't matter, but like
they simultaneously matter. Yeah. They don't matter.
What happened to the days? What happened to the days where you had to say the movie title in the movie in order for it to count? Like, there was always like, they said the name of the
80s comedies. He said the name of the film.
Oh, there's so many more. There's got to be something.
What about Behind the Wall?
Oh,
Behind the Wall.
Oh, I like that.
It's simple, but adds curiosity. Like if I saw
there's so many layers to that
wall.
Right, I did do the layers Behind the Wall.
There's a lot of Behind the Wall.
Yeah.
Okay,
I like it. Behind the Wall, directed by Guillermo del Toro, is a story of a granddaughter, Karen Sheila Gillen, who inherits an old dilapidated castle that was owned and run by her family, but really under the caretaking of her grandfather, Bryan Cranston, who recently passed away. He passed away, which she inherited, but he'd always had sort of a sad aura to him, a forgetful aura, which is why he was a drunk, and which was why he, in a lot of ways, neglected his original kids. That's because he was always focused on his past lover, Allison Brie. And in finding this out in the story of discovery, when Karen goes back to a home she knows, she's confronted with memories and flashbacks and fears and all of these things until, somebody that breaks the monotony of the, going through documents. Cillian Murphy's character comes in with this ominous sort of revitalization. And this is all directed by Guillermo del Toro as a dry drama with very, very light humor and slight surrealism, brought to you by the production of Warren and Aaron Movies with executive producer Rain DeGrey, coming to studios near you. Rain, I think we might be an Oscar
movie. I seriously want to see this movie. This is a great movie.
Just give us 10 years. Just give us 10 years and we got it.
Allison Brie, if you want to greenlight a project, I know exactly where you can pick one up. But yeah, that was actually really, really fun to see that perspective. And I also really appreciated your not rant, but just your like mental verbal salad that basically put this film together in 30 seconds, where I gotta admit, I wasn't a fan. I saw a lot of cliches, but then as you sort of like got deeper, it reminded me how important a 30-second pitch is to like just get 30 seconds. Because
what's the elevator pitch? Make that shit tight.
Right
Kegels.
on.
I'm a long talker.
Kegels.
I think this is an international film. This is absolutely an international film.
Could be French.
So
I'm glad that you saw your way past my cliches, man. You put me on the spot. I had fucking 30 seconds to come up with that. Come on.
Well, me and Aaron usually slowly step through this like one thing at a time. We're like, do we need that character? That sounds stupid,
so you should cut out that last 5 minutes.
Yeah. So this was actually really put together. And as the antithesis of the movie that we're here to talk about, as we're getting into it, it's movie review time. Yes. And Aaron and I are going to consult once again with our guest star, Rain DeGrey, and talk about this film. One as a monolith, but also in two parts, right? Volume 1 and Volume 2, which I have two very different opinions of, even though the aesthetic was the same and the characters were the same. I felt like the first one was a way better film than the second one, and the second one had a lot of shock value that that felt like it was thrown in there, that wasn't as true to form as the first volume. But again, I'm happy that we got our behind the wall film out there, so people can counterbalance the 4 hours that they had to stifle their vomit to sit through this, if this is how they felt. But yeah, I'm interested to hear both of you guys' thoughts on this, because I definitely have some.
Yeah, I was about to watch this with Lauren, and then like she gave up.
You didn't?
Pretty much near. She didn't. No, I was like trying to watch it, and she just kind of backed out. She was like, I'm good. And then she went to sleep, and by the time she woke up, I was at the end of part 2, and she was like, "What the fuck is going on?" Like I was like, I really can't explain it at this point. I'm so sorry. You gotta look away. It's not. I wasn't happy with the 4 hours I spent either. I really feel like this could have been a much better, more concise 2 hours, of course. And honestly, most of the time, I felt it got a little pretentious, like a little up its own ass, explaining kind of nothing. Yeah.
Well, but Stellan Skarsgård's character was meant to be that pretentiousness, but like make it real and relatable. I think he tried his best, and there were some definite great flashes, but a lot of the analogies that he used really missed.
So like fly fishing, there's like trout forever.
I appreciated the fly fishing and the baiting, because at that point I was like, and this kind of goes back to what you were talking about earlier, Rain. I can see why, men, especially men on the train, or, men that interact with this young woman, why they're making the decisions that they're making. At no point, other than Stellan, the old man in the room with her, at no point in the film did I think anybody else was making unreasonable decisions. It felt realistic to me.
Respectfully and strongly disagree. One of the things that it is obvious to me as a vagina holder, that this movie was written by a man, one-handed, while fapping vigorously. Never once is STIs in any way.
That was another thing. Yeah. How do you not talk on that?
There are no condoms because it's fantasy. It's not realistic. He completely biffs STIs. She would have herpes up to her eyeballs. Like none of that is ever discussed. There's never, they say that she's on birth control, right? We don't discuss STIs whatsoever. And Lars has no idea of what asexuality is. I know people that are asexual. Yeah. It is legitimately a way that you are wired. Lars knows so little about how humans work that he believes that he can create a character who is an asexual virgin in his 60s, who has never touched a woman, had no interest, spent 4 hours saying, I don't want to put my dick anywhere, and ends the movie by trying to put his dick into her bloody, overused, torn out pussy. What? You've had sex with thousands of men. That is not what asexual virgins in their 60s would do. It is so implausible. that
Talk
the
about a bad
the BDSM is implausible. The asexuality is implausible, and frankly, the way that this woman operates, where you're like, it's such a fantasy. Oh, she would go up and down the train with her best friend, and they start a teenage sex cult. Like, that's not
so
how.
So at that point, the motive for like why I feel like I know some people. Probably, I don't know any self-diagnosed sex addicts or people in treatment, but I feel like I've come across those people. So I have, and that's why I wanted your perspective. I had a hard time justifying why people would do this. But as a man sitting in that car, right, and you nailed it when you're talking about he wrote this with his dick in his hand, because I'm like, every guy on the train, like that's low key their fantasy. Like, what if this hot chick really like starts coming on to me, right? Like that's he's playing out some like scenario in his head, to the point where I thought the entire movie was her lying, right? Like,
well, she is a core unreliable narrator, and in fact,
yes.
She's an unreliable narrator is referenced multiple times. Like, everything that she says is implausible. It is a pretentious movie, super far up its own ass, with characters doing completely unrealistic things, juxtaposed with Christian Slater ranting about ash trees.
I don't get the point of that part.
Man. You want to check out some trees, man?
I don't
get the talk about bad casting.
It was pretentious, and it was self-indulgent. It was bad casting. What's he dying of? Is he vaguely alcoholic? We don't know. It was like Lars
was just dementia or something.
Dementia, and he's a very in shape dude. They did not do the aging makeup well, so he's just like on the floor twitching. Like, it's implausible. The movie went on way too long, and it was like, I am an artist. I am making art.
There are some portions of that where I felt were like, this would fuck you up. I had a sick parent growing up, and to a lot of things, that's what I discuss a lot of in therapy. It can sort of shape your outlook. I don't understand why it, like, her trying to sneak away to masturbate, I'm like, shit, that definitely seems unhealthy. But in other aspects, I thought that, like, Shia LaBeouf, knowing that he couldn't satisfy his partner, sending or allowing them to be in an open relationship and seeing the pain that he was going through, I thought that was realistic. Parts of the things that I thought were unrealistic was her smashing herself in the clitoris, like, because she lost some sensation. People do that.
So here's the thing: what makes no sense is her as a hardcore committed nymphomaniac her entire life, where she's fucking anything that walks, to the point that her pussy is a red rashy sore and she's dripping blood. Like,
that's volume 2.
Yes, okay. But the thing is, sorry, my bad. But
no.
But if you are using sex as an addiction, one of the things I found very implausible is, out of nowhere, her pussy just suddenly stops working. Like, that medically doesn't make any sense to me. However,
thank God,
the whole point of this is that she's a junkie. She's a junkie, and she is addicted to dick.
Yes.
So if you suddenly had the syringe in your arm and you put the plunger in and nothing happens, you could fling the syringe across the room and be like, what's going on? I could actually see her, if she's obsessed her entire life from being a 7-year-old doing frog slides across her clitoris on the bathroom floor. This has always been the reliable dopamine. It's always been there, and suddenly it stops working. Yeah, you're in the bathroom with a wet towel, screaming, and like that's not how a clitoris works. That was written as a plot point by a dude who doesn't have a clitoris. Like, there's too many implausibilities in order to further the plot line, and it was written by a dude who doesn't understand enough about how vaginas work, or how women work, or how BDSM works.
I wanted to specify that volume 1 versus volume 2, because a lot of what you just talked about happened in volume 2, which I think is the worst of the two. But in terms of portraying,
bad. They're both
on a relative scale.
Bad.
But in terms of portraying her as a nymphomaniac, just the messiness of it is what I wanted to see more of, with the interpersonal relationships and her ruining Uma Thurman's life, and her, playing around with people that she knew she wasn't going to stay with long term, like with Shia and this office job, right? Like, I wanted more of that, and like, seeing how degenerate she got with some of her addictions, like that was icing on the cake. But I wanted to see the mess that she created in her wake, because I imagine there's fucking tons of it. Also, because she's probably a walking STD, right? Like you said, like, I can't believe
there was never any protection. Every single dick she jumped on did not have a condom. They literally, the movie is saying that she has fucked thousands of people.
Yeah.
As someone who is receptive, the reason that there's like so much stigma, where are you going to get HIV from gay men? Here's the thing. The receptive partner in any sexual act is always at a higher risk. Always. Whether you're receptive anally, receptive vaginally, the person getting it stuck in has a higher risk for getting STIs. It's never addressed. STIs don't exist in this fantasy world. She can fuck 1,000 dudes and she's on birth control. She's fine. That's not how it works. Her sex life would be interrupted by the fact that she would be riddled with syphilis, with gonorrhea, with herpes, and it's a fantasy land. It doesn't. I don't think Lars knows that much about fucking. I'm sorry, Lars.
I think this is no, absolutely.
You wrote this while fapping, imagining this teenage sex goddess who would fuck the entire planet. That person doesn't exist. I went to high school with
she would have learned that lesson young, and she would have probably spent as much time preparing and testing or having contraception as she had in these acts. I feel like, I don't know.
I know people in the swinging community, and you're not banging bareback. You're just not, because the addiction is the sex act. When you do it unprotected, as compulsively as this character is doing, every time you roll the dice, she would not be able to be as promiscuous as she was. And one of the things that really frustrated me is that it was set in a fantasy land where STIs don't exist. And you briefly say, oh, she's on birth control. Done, handled. And it's like she is banging literally anyone she can. Not only would she be an STI vector, but every single person she banged would be sent home with herpes up to their foreheads. Like it's not realistic. It's not how human bodies work.
It doesn't.
And also, I went to high school with a sex addict. She is the most compulsive, sexually addictive person that I have ever encountered in my life. She was notorious. It was called having chemotherapy, because she basically banged my entire high school. And she wouldn't go on a train, start a teenage sex cult, like find a bestie and fuck an entire train over a bag of chocolate.
This is Europe, okay? Like, they're made up of different stuff over there, right? I think that the Atlantic Ocean allowed me. It happened across the pond. I don't know what high school life is like over there, but it allowed me to suspend belief enough that if the biggest reach I was making, I was making in my imagination was the fact that she's probably screening these men in some way, and that's not. No, she's not. No, she's not.
They're not screening. No, it's actually way more liberal in Europe. Here's the thing: as Americans, we don't know our history that much. America was founded by a bunch of conservative, black-clad, morbid Puritans who were like, you Europeans are having too much fun. We want to go sit on a rock and go to church all the time and feel super guilty and never have any fun. And 300 years later, that's still the legacy that we are fighting against, is sexual shame. We were founded by the most. How much do you have to hate fun to be like, we're going to get in a leaky boat and we're going to suffer and we're going to cross the ocean for 3 months and then we're going to go and hang out on this completely unsettled hunk of rock so that we can have no fun, because
they were pretty miserable.
You're enjoying.
They were
yourself.
so miserable.
We can't have that.
The way God intended.
So miserable that
Europeans.
Europeans are basically like, you can't be here. So they were like, shit, we got to go somewhere else and be cynical and miserable. So they found this rock.
Like, you could be here. You could be here.
Just shut the fuck up.
Founded America were like, no. You're having too much fun. Yeah, we don't want your fun.
The Quakers were exiled from Europe, but like the Europeans who were when the Quakers came to town, you're just like, dude, you gotta live next to these fucking guys. They're gonna totally bring down the orgy, man. Like, they're gonna bring down the vibe in here, dude.
We are still struggling with deep cultural roots of 300 years of cultural suppression. I've been to Europe, but having been to Europe multiple times, there's still not teenage sex cults of nymphomaniac like goddesses that are just sucking your seed because they want it so bad because they like chocolate. That is a one-hand
Yeah.
fantasy.
When you
I'm
say it
sorry,
like
Lars.
that,
That was totally
it sounds
that was
crazy.
totally the thing. Well, see, like if she was supposed to be an actual nymphomaniac, like she had a bad sexual experience the first time with Shia LaBeouf, and then to go from years later to go from that to the train scene, it's like, well, if you were actually a nymphomaniac, tell me if I'm wrong, but it feels like you would just be inclined regardless of the chocolate. The chocolate was just a joking, tongue-in-cheek excuse to do what they wanted.
It was.
Yes,
But it didn't play out like that. It didn't play. It played out like, man, I really want those chocolates though. And she was like, I'll give you 5 points if you do that guy, even though she was gonna.
She
lose
wasn't as a.
It just didn't.
A sex addict, right? It didn't seem like, especially on the train, she was deriving that much pleasure from those encounters. It felt more of like childhood angst, there's something to do today, right? It wasn't like you were feeding an addiction. But with, obviously America is just like really, really prudish. Like, what do you think most people thought? Because when you look at the poster, right, it's got all these cubes of people with like climaxing, right? They're like O faces and shit. What do you think?
Or about to sneeze.
The perception was in the US.
I haven't seen the poster. What am I missing out on?
There's 2 different posters, but there's one poster.
It's really
with the
deceiving. Stellar Skarsgård's character and Willem Dafoe's character are up there like as if they're having sex, and those are 2 characters who doesn't have sex with the main character like the entire time.
Willem Dafoe being on that poster
really
is bullshit
too. Yeah.
Does he he do an O face?
On the poster. I thought
yes, what a
this
fucking
movie
pretentious load of crap. Yeah,
this movie lies to you. This film lies to you from the poster and also from the trailer, because it's not like you go into it thinking it's going to be one thing that you've built up in your mind as this like grandiose. I'm going to get an insight look into somebody struggling with sex addiction, when really the reality of what I see is so far off the deep end that I'm just like, this, it's entertaining, but like, I thought you were going to humanize this shit.
Right. I feel that Lars has a very cynical view on humanity, and that
he's in good company.
I have such a cynical view on humanity, and I would never make this piece of crap movie. It is 4 hours of my time of every character making the worst possible implausible decision time and time again. How could it get worse? What's the absolute worst thing we could do? Let's do that. And again, hour after hour, where Aaron, it becomes so implausible. Oh.
No,
Yes,
I hear you. No, I was gonna say, Aaron, you've seen some interviews on this, and I want to know like why this movie could have stopped at volume 1. Did they even touch on why they needed to break this down into 2 volumes?
I don't know, because he loves himself, Lars.
Pretentious crap.
Yeah. Did you get that from the interview that he did at Sundance or Cannes or wherever?
No, the Cannes Festival interview with Lars Von Trier is a whole different thing. That was for Melancholia. I'll get into that in a second, but because that one's a really whatever. I'll just say it now. So Lars Von Trier was at Cannes Film Festival, and I think he was trying to make a joke at first or something, but he was like, he basically like took his train of thought in front of a whole room of people with the Melancholia cast, and was talking about like, like I have a German background. So some people may paint me as a Nazi, and I'm not a Nazi. Some things they did were bad, and I don't agree with Hitler, but I do agree with some things he did. And then he said that verbatim at a conference, and then the next thing was there's an article where he's banned from Cannes Film Festival. He can't come back because of "I'm a Nazi" comment, and I quote, "I'm a Nazi" from Lars, not me, and. Don't use that out of context.
Good,
anyway.
good to clarify that. The thing is, he says that his filmmaking style, he's like, filmmaking should be like a stone in your shoe. The guy is completely neurotic. He basically can't film outside of his native country. He can't get on planes. He says he's essentially terrified of everything other than filmmaking. And I'm telling you, the guy is a freaking wingnut.
It sounds really hard to make a film about like nymphomania when you haven't experienced a lot lot of the world and haven't even tried to.
Yes.
It seems very disconnected. Yeah.
Well,
that's my point. Is that Lars himself is writing about stuff that he obviously and self-admittedly has no experience with. So the man doesn't. Yes, go on.
I'm sorry. I keep this happens. Like I said, this is just a regular. We are, as far as I'm concerned, we're on a digital couch shooting the shit. So interruptions happen. I'm gonna try to minimize that. I apologize. I was gonna say, Lars being an admitted Nazi, right? Kind of, even in like tongue-in-cheek way, makes sense to me, because like really the only black people you see in this are immigrants, and also they're being heavily fetishized, as if like over the 1,000 partners, like these 2 African immigrants are the only ones. Shout out to him for putting dongs on camera, right? He had no problem there.
They were
arguing
that argument, that was great. I like that
argument
scene.
was funny.
That was great.
What's going? How do you,
Aaron?
How do you argue with boners? Props to the acting.
Props to those actors.
Yeah, they did good.
That is really hard to keep,
especially if the argument is more compelling than the woman in front of you, right? Like, yeah, dude, you guys.
I
Aaron,
wonder.
We get the job done. Sorry. Then we'd argue after.
Having seen that clip and knowing just how hard it is to do anything with a boner, I wonder if it occurred to me while watching it if there was not some chemical assistance. When I worked at Kink, one of the shoots that they had, one of the sites they had was Naked Combat. And the premise of Naked Combat is that it is 2 incredibly buff dudes wrestling each other. And whoever wins the wrestling match then fucks the loser. Now, here's the thing. It's very hard to wrestle with a boner, but the director wanted the actors to have boners the entire time. You cannot maintain wood and also do wrestling. So off the record, there was some chemical assistance. And by chemical assistance, I don't mean Viagra. I mean literal Caberjack injection, like literal injection.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
I thought you meant like creams that exasperated blood flow or some shit.
Viagra is the baby stuff. When you're seeing rock hard boners, these poor actors have had to have injections in their dick. And the problem is that if you do the medication too strong, the blood gets trapped, and then you have to go to the hospital so that your dick doesn't fall off. So watching that scene and knowing how hard it was to be able to maintain erections while arguing, having been on film sets, I suspect those 2 actors, who I have no doubt have wood that you could do chin-ups on, I suspect there was some chemical assistance in order to make that scene happen.
I don't know about that scene, but I know at least during Shia LaBeouf's sex scenes, like that, it looked like they were actually having sex, but allegedly it's just a prosthetic.
I'm pretty sure. No, I'm pretty sure she sucked off those guys real, and I'm pretty sure that the young actress was fucking Shia. I'm pretty sure there was some penetration. It looked way too real. I'm very familiar with prosthetics, but I've also watched a lot of adult entertainment in my day. And if that was fake, that he deserves a special effects.
They claim CGI. And here's the thing.
Have to say
that. A lot of the budget went to dick.
I think they had to say it. What one of the things also that I think that doesn't get discussed enough is that Shia LaBeouf ended up getting sued by FKA Twigs because of the abusive relationship they were in. And among the other things that Shia did is knowingly infect her with herpes. And in addition to that, he actually covered his herpes sores with stage makeup so that he could keep fucking FKA Twigs. Yes, read the lawsuit. He had herpes.
That is so fucked.
He covered his sores with stage makeup so he could keep fucking her, infected FKA Twigs with herpes. She now has it for the rest of her life. So I can tell you, whoever that poor actress was who's like, I'm fucking Shyla for art. I'm doing art. Now I have to go get a herpes test because Shyla is,
Well, I'm wondering if she knew that before or when she got the
FKA news. She didn't.
She was like, I knew it. But
I gotta go get a test. I gotta go get a test now.
Yeah,
Thanks,
exactly.
Shyla. Yeah.
But I was thinking about this because I remember him. I didn't know the details, but I remember he was heavily abusive to FKA Twigs. And he was also abusive in this movie. And I was just like, is that something where unfortunate, it carries over from the role and, or he's taking that home with him? But it sounds like he's taking more than that home with him. That's unfortunate. Damn, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Just to shit on Shia a little more. So him and Christian Slater in this movie. Didn't him and Christian Slater have an accent in this movie? Because I couldn't fucking tell on Christian Slater.
Christian Slater
Shia
did.
LaBeouf, I was like, oh God, what?
Shia tried for an accent and he gave up halfway through. He's like,
he did. I thought I was the only one. I was like, do you have an accent?
No.
Yeah.
He did. And then he's like, I can't. It's too hard to maintain my wood. You get wood or you get an accent. You don't get both. My acting range is not that wide. So he chose the boner and dropped the accent halfway through. Among the many things that's super implausible with this movie. Like I have objections, lots of them.
There's a lot of questions.
Well,
especially with
I was
part one.
Say,
I always thought it was weird that it's our thing. The ending of part one was very frustrating because that's when Lauren woke up at one point, and then she was like, wait, what? That can fucking happen? Like, she was questioning it, and I was like, can it? It sounds like an STD sounds way more believable and realistic than it as like a cause and effect to her lifestyle than just magically losing all feeling. I just didn't understand that, and I was so confused by it. I didn't think that was
that's not how human anatomy works. This entire movie is a series of implausible shit to further the plot. Your vagina doesn't just drop off.
Bro, how it wouldn't have been a hard thing to adjust for, because let's say you add in the plot element of her having and knowingly having an STI, then you make her an even more hateable character, right? Because you know that she's having sex with thousands of men and infecting thousands of these men, right? Like, and probably not disclosing. Yeah. So I'm just saying, if all Lars needed to do was add that aspect, and like the film goes in a different direction, right? Even if the story doesn't change in your mind, right? You're like, fuck, this is fucked up.
But he didn't, because everything is implausible. The BDSM is implausible. The asexuality is implausible. The nymphomania is implausible. The fact that he never addresses STIs is implausible. The fact that he has a teenage sex cult of girls that will just fuck anybody, implausible. I went to high school with incredibly open-minded people that were spreading it like peanut butter, and they were not fucking an entire train over chocolate. Like, it's just
what is
the STIs is a long series of implausible things in this movie.
So, you know, it's also mind-blowing to me that she didn't find like a collective. She only sought help when she like thought her job was in jeopardy. But like, what is the prevalence of like the swinger community in Europe? Is it more so than here? I'd imagine more so. I feel like she could have found a group and just been completely satiated and not had to do all this other negative shit.
Was it a group? I thought it was just her and her friend.
No, it was her. She's by herself, but she could have found.
She could have
her own colony. She could have found
because none of this is plausible. You're 100% right, but none of the characters' actions make sense. None of it. It's not how that would work. And the thing is, if you're having 4 hours of characters doing implausible, unrealistic things, then make it a fantasy. Add in some aliens. Give me a bowl. Whatever. But the premise of this movie is that it's realistic, but none of the characters act in realistic manners. And I think that's where I really struggled. It's like, you either make it a fucking fantasy land where STIs don't exist and you can fuck an entire town until your vagina falls off, or make it realistic, but you're making everything realistic, but then none of the characters' actions make sense. That's
what did you think? Yeah. I echo that 100%. We talked about pretension, but what did you think of the art style of the film? It has a specific style to it, like this dull sort of like
cinematography.
Yeah.
Pretentious, navel gazing, obsessed with the smell of your own fart style is what that is.
There had some beautiful moments. I will say, and some great shots, but I generally agree.
There's some good shots.
I say it because it's true.
There's some good shots, but then there's also some like scenes with those good shots mixed in with, you know, the old man. I can't remember the actor's name, but the old man, and every time he's every time he's explaining something, it just it looks nice. Like, I really wasn't bored throughout it. But again, there wasn't anything that kept making me like, I was about to not watch the second part because of it. And I was like, no, it's okay. I'll just push through. I'll push through. Like,
with the art style and like what I perceived to be like a subtext to it, I thought that the Skarsgård old man was sort of like a Jesus and pure virgin, and then she was sort of like the devil trying to tempt him with her story and her, you know, like he's in the desert for 40 days. Like, you sure you don't want something to drink? You know, I've had sex with thousands of men. You sure you're not, you know? And that's sort of what I felt like he was going for with this. But then to flip the story and say that, like, no, actually Jesus succumbs, and like not only does he succumb, he's a fucking savage at heart, right? Confirming every sort of negative connotation we have about the true nature of humanity. I
just felt like it ruined.
I want to give making.
Yes, it did.
It's easy to make shitty films.
It was was a fat steaming dump on your forehead. That's how the movie ends. You're just like, oh, you just shit on my face. Why? 4 hours, and now I have a load of feces on my face. Thanks, Lars.
I'm gonna need you not to kink shame me, okay, Rain? All right, thank you. For this movie too.
I'm not shaming the Germans. I understand. Like Freud would have a lot to say about that. It's fine if that makes you happy, but I didn't sign up to be shit on my forehead, and that's how it
What
ended.
did you think? What did you think of the, you know, the display of genitals, which is not common at all, but is more common in European cinema and television, and also, you know, the CGI. I firmly believe that they were fucking there, which makes it even more grim after the story you told me. But these are SAG actors doing adult film style performances. And for a while, the adult film industry has tried to qualify for union stuff, and the unions consistently told them no. It seems really hypocritical to do a film like this and then not employ. I didn't recognize any adult entertainers in this film at all. To not employ anybody from these communities seemed really nuts to me, and just lent it to be not really genuine. Like, what do you know about this shit? Right? Like, get some fucking people in here to scene check.
It's pretentious, and the thing is that Lars is coasting on a certain cachet and style, and where he could get people to agree to do something that they wouldn't do for any other director. It's like, no, hear me out, Shyla, baby, listen to me. Okay, so we're making art. And I just need you to, like, fuck everyone. I need you to take your herpes covered dick and just shove it in everybody for art.
Allegedly.
For art. Allegedly. I saw the lawsuit.
We're not going to be able to monetize this at all.
Oh, my God. What? Allegedly. You'll be fine. You can't claim shit.
To allegedly shove your herpes covered dick, allegedly, into all of these holes. Is that I feel like it was a collective fart sniffing. They were just like, oh my God, we're geniuses, we're artists. And you start talking people into doing things they would never otherwise do. And it's like, it's for art. And here's the thing. If the movie had been successful, I'd be like, you did it well, but it was for shock value. It was implausible. And I feel like everyone on set is like, oh, we're such geniuses. Oh, we're so edgy. Oh, we're so cutting edge. Check us out. And then the final product is feces on your forehead. Allegedly, I'm not kink shaming. What I'm saying is he tried to stick the landing and he failed.
I think that a lot of what studios fall for is an aesthetic, right? Let's say you got the pitch concept for Nymphomaniac, and then you say, and it's going to be produced and directed by Zak Snyder, right? All of a sudden the lens changes. Or it's going to be produced and directed by Guillermo del Toro. The lens changes, right? You project a different film. Produced and directed by Lars Von Trier. So I think people fell in love with that romanticized vision of a nymphomaniac and didn't really suss out what the fuck was happening in the story. Because a lot of actors, they just want like a good scene, right? They just want like, I mean, they definitely want to tell a great story. But like they're really scene, like,
do that though.
Yeah. So I think everyone kind of fell for that in this.
Yes. And it's like Christian Slater got a chance to really like,
to
you
be
get to
serious.
chew up some scenery, right?
I haven't been in this since the Heathers, man. Oh, no.
To die.
Interview with the Vampire was the last closest semi-or.
Right. Yeah, but he like, the thing is, I believe that all of the actors he talked into, flagging their genitals all over the place, saw these scenes and they're like, I can act in this. And they were only paying attention to like these scenes where they're like, oh, I can really chew on some scenery and I can do some range. And they didn't look at the overall unreasonable pile of crap but they were like, look at this scene where I get to act. And that's what he sold it on. And I feel that I'm certain that when everyone was gathered together, they're like, oh, we're making cutting edge art. We're so edgy. We're making profound philosophical, but also a lot of anal sex. Like, and they just thought that they were doing this like edgy thing. And then you see the final product and you were like, sorry, you got your genitals on screen for no good reason. Like, it's actually not that good.
I hate when films do that. Like, they just feels like they overwhelm you with information that seems like it's going to be relevant later, but then it actually doesn't really add up to anything. That's what the part 1 and part 2 felt like a lot. But that's like the worst form of dishonesty in a movie. Like, movies are supposed to be a little dishonest to make you feel things, but it's awful when it really didn't add up to anything. When he was like, he was prepping you for nothing.
Right.
I want to get your thought on, the people who are the mostly older middle-aged women who sat outside Jamie Bell's door as a character. Like, there was no scene set, right? He had, like, why would people show up for that? Like,
they wouldn't. They fucking wouldn't. Okay, this is my biggest objection with that film. Out of the many things I object to, including his completely unrealistic take on asexuality and STIs, is as a BDSM expert who has lectured at Harvard, this movie was written one-handed by a man who has no idea how BDSM works. And I get what he's trying to say. Felt like it. Yep. I get what he's trying to say. BDSM, man, it's so kinky. It's so edgy. It's like a drug. Housewives will scamper off. They'll leave their children. They
leave their children to get the shit kicked out of them.
Yeah,
for nothing.
That's not how it works at
the addiction
all. This man
for her. If I can be devil's advocate, I agree with you. That seems dog shit. Mm-hmm. And in the amateur sort of kink that I play in, right? Like, I'm having a hard time believe why, someone would leave their kid, even if before, she wasn't being aroused anymore, and she found that this guy was bringing something to the surface in her. There was still a lot lacking there, right? Like,
ever so much. I object.
I can't put my finger on it.
Oh, no, I can. All of the fingers. Okay, here we go. Are you ready? Okay. First off, here is the thing: is that there are certainly charismatic alpha dominant men that collect harems, and they essentially start their own cults. I'm on FetLife. These guys are getting sued all of the time. I'm aware of essentially 5 cult leaders in total. 3 of them have been arrested. And you start, but you're dicking down these women. B, you're living with these women. C, you're owning their genitals. And you're telling me there's some creepy college student who has some office supply closet, and he has a waiting room of bored housewives that line up for beatings?
His
there's
age.
No
his
universe.
Age alone.
His age
totally
alone, but also
that's not
what Lars is trying to say is being beaten is like a drug, man. You get it once and you just fucking need more, and you end up in a waiting room with a bunch of bored housewives side-eyeing each other, hoping today's your day that you get beaten.
So
that's not how it
based
works.
on how Lars doesn't travel, it just it sounds like he's inhibited. He's repressed as fuck. So
super repressed, super inhibited, and that is his fantasy. And it starts out from the beginning. There's no safe words. Your name is Fido. You can hang out in this waiting room, and I may or may not beat you. Like, at the core, the first thing that this pouty college student says is there's no safe words, and when you walk in, I could do whatever the fuck I want to you. Totally not true. That's not how BDSM works. And Lars needs to have some personal responsibility for the fact that he's propagating a completely inaccurate and toxic mentality. That's literally against the core.
I had the same thought. This is irresponsible in that this film is giving people insight into a life that they can only really peek in. They might not go to the clubs and stuff and see how these scenes and how these dom sub relationships really work. Mm-hmm. And people are going to take this idea and try it at home or go looking for that, and they're going to get abused. And it's just going to I did feel that, because that entire scene, while I love Jamie Ball and while I love him as an actor, I was like, man, this is just another instance of like really bad casting. Only because purely on his age. And then once you started to get into
the character
and the things that the women were lining up to do, and that whole setting, I was just like, are you fucking kidding me?
That's not, it is so implausible that I can say for a fact that that's never happened in real life. There's no, and I will give him props. He was a good actor, but he was in a very hard there. So he's a college student, and for funsies on the side, he beats bored middle-aged housewives.
Yeah, that's an amazing place he's got.
Dude, no,
I didn't get that.
It seemed like he was hanging out in college and he found some like storage room, and they were like had some desks, and it was like in between calculus classes, I'm just gonna nip down to the storage room and beat a couple of housewives and then go back up for my philosophy class. Like that's not how it works. Like it's just
they've been waiting 4 hours for me.
No,
Yeah.
no,
Yeah.
I've been beaten extensively. Of all the many things I've done in my life, I have never hung out in a waiting room giving side eye to bored housewives, waiting my turn for some disaffected college student who's not going to fuck me to beat me a little. Like it's fantasy. That's the thing, is that it's so unrealistic.
It would have been more realistic to me if he was just like barking orders and never getting actually physical with them, like just like the demeaning aspect of it versus like the physical abuse aspect of it.
Well, okay, no, I disagree there, because
like sit here, shut up, like that.
Right, but that's a humiliation kink.
Yeah,
and
humiliation,
and that's much smaller. The thing is, when you get beaten, your brain naturally creates pain-killing opiates, endorphins, and adrenaline. When you get beaten dead sober, you can get high as a kite. So when people start using BDSM as therapy, your humiliation kink, oh, you're a disgusting piglet, go sit in the corner, that is a much smaller slice of the kink pie than masochists. Why are masochists getting beaten? Not because they're crazy. They're getting beaten specifically because of the natural pain-killing opiates and endorphins. I can prove it to you with one word. Rug burn. How many people have been fucking and you're like, this is amazing. You can't feel anything because you're high as a kite. You wake up the next day and you've got, your knees are skinned. And you're like, what happened? I was sober. No, you weren't. You were high off your ass. Now you have rug burn. You exfoliated 5 layers of skin. You couldn't feel a thing because you were high as a kite. That's why we fuck. That's why people do BDSM. It does get you fucked up. You're making your body give you these drugs. That's why people get beaten. So his premise is, it's a fact. His premise is that that's why people do it. Like, it's like, why are you hanging out in a dungeon getting spanked? Because it gets you high. It gets you high. It's the same thing with rope bondage. When people are like, why are you into rope bondage? It doesn't work for everybody. But when someone is bound, it actually causes a deep primal, I'm cornered in a cave by a saber-toothed tiger. For some percentage of the human population, it triggers your fight or flight response. And when you can't escape because you're bound, a certain percentage of the human population just accepts your fate. And you're like, there's nothing I can do. The tiger's going to get me. And actual, essentially natural Valium gets reduced in your brain. So you're bound, you're helpless, and your body's like, okay, fuck it. What
body's
can you do?
Preparing to die.
Yes. And that's the point of bondage and BDSM, is that you are causing effects on your body that get you to that high state. It doesn't mean there's a bunch of bored housewives waiting for some college student to clean their ass. Like, it's just, it's not how it works. Hey man, I just need just one more hit. Just give me one cane stripe on my ass, and then I'll go home and I'll do the dishes, but you just got to fucking beat my ass. It's not how it works, man. Sorry.
And you're the only person who can do this. You're the only person who is capable of doing this.
Yeah, no shit. Anywhere. I can't teach my partner how to do this, right? Like,
no.
Ridiculous.
He's trying to say that BDSM is a drug, but he's pushing the drug analogy so far that it becomes so implausible that you can't follow it anymore, because you're like, this is bullshit. This is not how humans actually act. Sorry, you were saying.
I like the idea that it, like when they alluded sex and her need for it, and they kind of showed that it was kind of animalistic. I liked those parts. I liked that it was kind of, it kind of seemed like it connected a little bit of human, just saying humans are animalistic. I love that for some reason. It makes sense because we are just basically animals. But yeah, it definitely got lost, and I wish they kind of touched on issues more like that realistically. So that way it was, I don't know, the science, what you're explaining about the science of it is vastly more interesting to me than that scene of her being beaten and then like, I'm going to count to 25 or whatever. And
he could have done a requiem for a dream sort of thing, right? Like her as soon as she's hit, the pupils dilate and the adrenaline goes through the brain. Like then you get an idea of it, but there was none of that.
Yeah, right.
Well, so Aaron, you're describing, and I want to just go around the table. I mean, we've been dogging this, but there has to be some redeeming moments. So I just want to understand from each of you, what was like your favorite part of the film, if any?
Two scenes I love.
Okay, one scene.
Guess first, Aaron. Guess first.
You got it. Yes.
Well, what? Yes, I'm the guest. Uma Thurman.
Ah, that was great.
The only redeeming part of this 4-hour steaming pile of pretentious dog crap is Uma Thurman's scene. I knew that she could act, but like she made the most painful, nail-biting, stomach-churning scene of a scorned wife where just don't watch any of the movie. Just watch Uma Thurman's scene. That is an Oscar-winning performance. It goes on and on, and you're like, you have to be like...
It goes on forever.
It's so painful and it's so good. And but not too long. Perfect. It's just fucking perfect. It just doesn't. Yeah. Here's the thing. I believe that Lars sold to Christian Slater. He sold to William Dafoe. He sold to Uma Thurman. He's like, I can give you all these great scenes. And the only person that landed it is Uma. And it was some of the best acting I have ever seen her do. That is a shining gem in an ocean of shit.
I'm going to double down on that and say that was also my favorite part of the movie, because he's got all of these cringe sort of things, from the BDSM to the fetishes to, bouncing around and making things just like childhood, losing her virginity, things that he tried to induce. Right. He tried to induce the reaction that Uma Thurman was able to bring out just in her scene, right? Like everything, like she made it. She kept, and she wasn't naked. It was just like the mess of the scene and what was as a result of this young woman's actions that you were like, oh God, make it stop. And that's what I mean when I was like, it went on forever. I was like, God, lady, just fucking leave.
Get used to being on the bus. It's okay. He likes the car. Here, have it. Oh, is it a menage a trois? Like, that's where I failed you. Oh my God. It was relentless.
And then the boyfriend knocks on the door.
Very good.
Yeah, I was like, cut the flowers.
Oh my God.
Oh, this just keeps getting more awkward. Yeah, that's my only part of the entire 4 hours that I was riveted for every second that she was on screen. I was like, you are crushing this. You are just a baby Godzilla and you are crushing this scene.
Can I add that this is, did I lose? No, we're here. Can I add that that's volume 1. So remember that when we rate this thing, all right? We're rating volume 1 and volume 2. Aaron, what's your favorite part?
All right. The Uma Thurman scene kind of encapsulates the whole idea and what I was expecting out of the film, that she is a selfish, addict essentially, and she doesn't care what it takes to hit that fix, and how destructive it can be to everyone around her, even the people she's just fucking and getting rid of. Like this, I like to include not only Uma Thurman's part, but the part before it where, I don't know, the husband was saying something to her like, oh, I love you. Like, and she was like, well, you can't really be together because you got a wife and kids. So bye. And I got a 9 o'clock showing up. And then the Uma Thurman scene just comes out of nowhere. And it really just feels like that was the point of the movie. But my second favorite scene was, and only because I like when relationships in movies actually make me feel the connection between the two love interests. And so I felt a connection. I didn't feel it throughout the rest of the movie between Shia LaBeouf and the main one, but I felt that at one scene when she was hiding the spoons in herself at the restaurant, and they watched
volume 2.
Thought that was kind of painful. I don't know how easily you could do that, but also I just liked the idea that was their bonding moment, and that was kind of funny to both of them as they were leaving the restaurant and spoons were falling out. That was funny to me. That was like a humor that was not present in any other part of the movie, mostly.
You could fit multiple spoons in a restaurant, but it doesn't matter how good your kegels are. You couldn't carry the spoons out of the restaurant. So them clattering, it totally makes sense. But you could get,
clattering killed me.
Yeah, no. I mean, like, hold on, give me a sec. Yeah, you could probably get 8 to 10 spoons up there pretty easily. That wouldn't be an issue. But you're not going to be able to hold the spoons and walk. Heck, people have been fisted. I have double fisted.
I mean,
double fisted. Just I have made.
So my connection dropped out and it came back right at that portion. I missed an entire conversation, but okay.
You got the gist of it.
Once you've seen someone do squat thrusts over a traffic safety cone, 8 spoons is no biggie. It's totally possible.
I thought that was
sense. I've seen
funny, but also it was just like, yeah, okay, what is this? Also, the actor who plays the waiter is a pretty famous, recognizable actor in that scene, and I thought he was going to have a bigger part, just anecdotally.
Right, but my objection to that scene, here's the thing, consent. Nobody, like, it's like, okay, she's an addict and she's found someone who will co-sign her addiction and allow her to be unreasonable, and nobody in that restaurant who is going there to have a meal wants to watch some addict nymphomaniac drop spoons out of her vagina. Like, consent is not happening there at all. And it's like, if I went to have a nice meal and some addict wingnut is shoving milkshake spoons up their pussy and then dropping them as they walk out, I'm like, you've kind of detracted from the meal for me. It's a little distracting. I came here to eat, not to see you do magic tricks with silverware. So
my disappointment is immeasurable. In my days.
I'm like, how did the waiter not stop her? One, like, thinking that she's stealing a bunch of spoons, but then, like, obviously they probably pick up the spoons and like, all right, no dirt's on it, and just like put it back on the table.
It was pretty obvious they were falling out of her vagina. They were washing those spoons. They hit the ground. Like,
and if
you they could have come from anywhere.
And you see 2 people laughing about it and giggling and rushing out, like, you have to assume.
She's wearing a dress. Where is she casting off all of these magic spoons? No.
When I see people dropping silverware, I don't think it's coming from cavities in their body. That's not my first go-to.
When there's 8 of them and she keeps walking and the spoons keep dropping, you start eliminating. Okay, there's not holes in her pocket. I can see her hands. You start to go through the list, and eventually you end up at pussy.
You know what? The more we
think
talk,
of it this way,
more my rating is changing for sure.
Have you seen this movie? I watched this movie. I am telling you, it is an unredeemable pile of crap saved only by Uma Thurman's scene. I want my 4 hours back.
If you cut off the second part and only have the first movie, it's still not satisfying, because you don't get what the point of the first scene was. A lot of the allegories Stellan, the old man makes, doesn't really come back yet, and then it just ends on like a fuck you, like she can't feel anything, that's the price of liking sex, I guess. But it's like, but no, that wasn't. Why did I sit here then? What was the point of any of this?
I was curious. I get ahead of myself.
To ask the opposite of that, what was everybody's least favorite scene? I'm really curious. Like, out of this movie, like out of both parts, actually, whatever your least favorite scene was.
My least favorite scene was the whole BDSM Jamie Ball sort of segment of it. Like, I had a hard time believing she'd leave her kid for that. At this person say so, but she is an addict, so it, like, I don't know, slightly. The other part of my least favorite scene was when she chided the entire sex addiction group. I was like, that's not cool. I don't care who the fuck you are. Like, bringing some members to tears. And it's just like, what is this? And that's volume 2, by the way. That would be my least favorite.
Are we doing least favorite for both of them, or just for volume 1?
Overall. Just worst scene.
I get that according to Lars, humanity is a seething cesspit of unredeemable pieces of shit. I get it. You have 4 hours built up with her confessing her entire life story to a clearly asexual virgin who spends the entire time, what's sex? I have no sexual desire. I've never had sex. That's not how I'm wired. You can't spend 4 hours saying this saintly father Jesus dude who does not have a boner. Suddenly, at the end of 4 hours, when the movie is just a relentless skull fucking of misery, suddenly he's like, I'm going to take my soft old man cock and just slide it into your well-used, herpes-riddled, just road rash pussy and then get killed? Just what? You fucked thousands of guys. You're not going to lose your virginity to some fucking wingnut you pulled bloody off of a sidewalk. Like, it's so implausible. Like,
I thought that if he was going to try that, he should have tried that in volume 1 in the first 30 minutes.
Like, that's not how
not
it
wait
ends.
at the end of the night.
He's like, I've spent 65 years having no sexual desire, and now I'm going to wipe the blood off you and fuck you, and then get shot and killed. And it's like, we get it, Lars. Humans.
Spoiler alert.
Oh yeah, spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. He dies.
Don't see it.
He shoots him. That's the end of the movie. It's deeply unsatisfying. I object.
Totally. That final scene really does ruin the point of that character, because at some point
it ruins the movie.
At some point I was like, okay, he keeps drawing to these.
Could you ruin the movie more? Yes, you could. I didn't think you could make it worse. Success. You made it worse. Congratulations. Oh.
At like some point, I was trying to justify, okay, this is why he keeps talking about all these allegories, because he doesn't draw on sex. He's only thinking that he's comparing it so that way he can make some comparison in his life. And now you're learning about this character. I was like, oh, that's fascinating. And then it's like, they completely shit on your face. They ruin it. He doesn't understand exactly sexuality as he thinks it's a choice. That's what he thinks it is. And that's unfortunate.
An asexual person who is focused on fly fishing and philosophy and religious pursuits his entire life and has clearly spent 4 hours telling you, I have no boners, does not suddenly decide to slip his dick into someone. Like, that's not at all how asexuality works. And
do you think that was Skarsgård's actual cock?
Yes. Oh, yes. 100%. He talked him into it. He's like, look, baby. Okay, hear me out. We're making art. I need you to pull out your 65-year-old semi. It's gray. It's grizzled. Your pubes have been gray for 15 years, and I need you to slide that old man dick out for art. And Peter Sarsgaard's like, okay, sure, yeah, I'll totally do that. You whipped out your dick for it wasn't worth it. Man. So I'm sorry. Yeah. There could have been a good reason to whip out your dick. That wasn't it.
We joke about, these Bay Area directors, hey man, you want to get naked in my film? It's in this scene. It's like, get the fuck out of here. But if like Scorsese says, all right, I got this scene, but you need to be naked and you're running across the street, you take him at your word. This film, if Lars was able to talk me into getting naked on film, felt maybe like my trust had been misplaced in agreeing to doing that, because of like, you also take a leap of faith in the director, right? And their vision, and you hope that they'll portray you in a decent way. And if I'm getting on camera with my cock in my hand, it's going to be ready to go. It's not, there's going to be no warming that thing up, right? Even if, like, Warren, you're just supposed to be walking the street. Why are you erect? Because I'm fucking erect, Lars. That's why. Shoot. Action.
See, this is a cold scene.
The thing is that I 100% believe that was Skarsgård's cock, and I believe that he was talked into it on the concept that they were making art. And I feel that his trust in Lars was misplaced. And I feel that he did this emotionally vulnerable thing, and he's like, I'm getting my dick out, and that's important for this movie. And then I'm sure that when he saw the movie, he's like, I shouldn't have gotten my dick out. I placed my trust in Lars, and that trust was misplaced.
Mr. Skarsgård, again, if you find yourself on the internet, dark webs, and come across this podcast, you're more than welcome to join us. By the way, appreciate it.
We respect you, and we respect 100%. Your dick, and we respect your art, and we're sorry that your dick and your art got misplaced, but we still believe in you, and it was very 100%. Bold. But you could have been handled better. Come here, and we'll handle you better. Like, not actually handle you, but like, okay, I'm gonna stop now. I'm stopping.
We'll handle your mind.
Yes.
All right, I think we've got.
Hold on. My least favorite scene also was not only the ending, because that it ruins the whole thing.
Horrible.
But I also didn't like I love Willem Dafoe, and his inclusion in this movie doesn't add anything. It really is confusing and out of nowhere.
It's a name.
I wasn't even sure what her job was because of how just weird and out of place it felt. And
he didn't even bring anything to the scenes, really.
No,
he did nothing. He was there for like 2 scenes and then gone. But then another scene where she's actually trying to confront someone, and she's like, to get the money out of the guy, she starts analyzing him, and then she picks up that he's actually a pedophile.
And then sucks his dick.
What the fuck? Why was that even included?
It was not.
She felt that he was honorable. She said he was like that because he had this hidden desire and that he didn't express, that he should somehow be rewarded. And I was just like,
are you psychic?
I was cringe induced by the fact that I was like, is he trying to like normal, or like, this is it's art, so you want to give it the benefit of introducing ideas, but you
only 5% of pedophiles actually act on their actions, and 95% of pedophiles are. Okay, first off, where did he get those facts and figures? I do not believe that 95% of pedophiles are noble beasts that rein in their wiring and don't engage in diddling kids. Like, those percentages are off. It's totally not true. And it's not like
that's scary if it's true, right? Like,
it's not
you've
true.
got all these people fantasizing this and they don't act on it.
Okay, so here's the thing, is that unfortunately, pedophilia has been part of humanity for the entire time that we have existed. And it is actually a wiring. Now, you can be like, well, why is someone wired to be into BDSM? Why is someone wired for pedophilia? And if you actually break it down, people that are pedophiles don't feel comfortable, don't feel safe, and they feel powerless. And they can feel most in control when they're engaging in a sexual partner who can't question them, who makes them feel strong and in control. If you feel powerless in your life and you're boning an 8-year-old, you're like, I'm a god to this 8-year-old. But I'm so broken, I can't actually have a relationship with another adult. I don't know how to do it. It would suck to be wired to be a pedophile, and there's no cure for it. Like, we have therapy and stuff, but when you're wired to be a pedophile, the only thing you can do is don't operate on that wiring, but it's not going to go away. There's no talk therapy.
That's not a solution. Yeah.
We don't have a solution.
It's not a root cause solution.
Yeah, and as I get when I don't get it, but like, having put myself in the mindset where it's like, it's like with men who are like, oh, I only want to date 18-year-olds. Why? Because you don't feel comfortable in yourself. You don't have the emotional maturity to have a relationship with another adult. So if I'm 40 and I'm like, oh, I'm super in control of an 18-year-old.
It's a power dynamic.
It's a power dynamic. And pedophilia is the ultimate power dynamic. You're not going to have anyone nagging you because you didn't take out the trash. An 8-year-old's not going to give you shit about that. But it's, pedophiles don't get to be heroically rewarded with blowjobs because they didn't bang someone in the schoolyard. The whole movie is just implausible from beginning
the rationale
to end.
Of that scene,
interestingly at all,
takes a nosedive. That scene takes a nosedive the second she goes down on him, like exposing his hidden intimacies and thoughts. I was like, oh, okay, like that's like Lars. The constant theme is like Lars finds some way to fuck up like something that is like really like what
again
again
over and over. You just keep getting punched in the head until all hope is lost, which I think was his goal. No hope for you, Lars. I'm tired of being punched in the head.
We're gonna move now into the movie rating section, and I want to keep this. I'm gonna ask both of you for how you rated Volume 1 and Volume 2, or you can throw it all into the trash pile together and give it one big rating. But we do a rating scale of 0 to 100. Our rating scales vary. I rate on entertainment, insightfulness. Aaron, I think tries to walk away with something a little bit, some grandiose epiphany from his movies. Even Fast 9, he's looking for the moral and ethical string there.
I figured out what it was. I figured it out. It's that, okay, first of all, I do ask a bit too much of my movies. At the same time, though, I think I also push and make sure just whatever the goal of this movie is, did it get it across well? And so for Fast 9 versus Nymphomaniac, as weird as that is, did Fast 9 deliver a successful and fun blockbuster movie that doesn't need to be smart? And at the same time, did Nymphomaniac deliver a movie that seems compelling and puts you in the mind of someone who's of a sex addict? And Fast 9 probably did a better job, completing its goal because, you know, well, it was simpler, but you know, because I think they know what they're doing. I don't watch Fast Furious films. I'm just using an analogy.
Yeah,
but no, my brother forced me to watch Fast 5 and I was like, why did you make me do this? And
Explosion.
And I've never seen one since.
Whoosh, whoosh,
Oh, they're
whoosh.
they're dragging a safe across a freeway? Neat. You know, but for Nymphomaniac just didn't feel like it. It's not successful at getting any point across, really.
The lens that I have too is like, would I put my own film recommendation on the reputation on the line to recommend this film to somebody, given, you know, the average person that I know. And with that, for volume 1, I would tell people to hard stop at volume 1 if you want to have any redemption value in this film or take any notes away from it. And with that said, I'd rate volume 1, I'd give that a 71 out of 100. For volume 2, I'm going to have to give it a 65, a D, because it doesn't bring me any closure, and it's completely unsatisfying, and it's really outlandish, and it's like kind of the worst of like the art house get a rise and a reaction out of you. So I'm going to go 71 with volume 1 and 65, a hard 65 on volume 2.
I'm combining them together into one film, and I am rating it a -3.
A -3, is that cumulative?
That is our lowest rating ever.
You set a record. Avoid this film like the plague, according to Rain DeGrey.
Yeah. Here, I feel since you gave me this assignment and asked me to be on this podcast, I watched the movie and I've been thinking about it nonstop every single day since.
That's a sign of a good film.
No,
it's not.
Deeply
no, it's
annoyed.
Not. No, it's
just
not.
Pissed off and annoyed. It's just festering in my head. I hate it. I would not recommend it to anybody. -3.
Sounds like you have a 3rd grade crush on this film.
I do not.
What?
No.
You know?
Yeah,
Oh no, Jimmy! I hate Jimmy. Jimmy's got boogers and cooties. Jimmy's the worst.
I've seen many scenes that haunt me to this day, and I can think of the point of that scene in the movie or the show, and it just doesn't. There's a difference. There's a clear difference between I remember this because it was compelling. I'm still thinking about it because it was compelling. Like the ending of Inception, when the top keeps spinning and it's about to fall. That makes you think. Just an example.
Yeah.
It makes you think, and the ending of this movie doesn't make you think at all. It really frustrates you because you're like, what was the point of either of these two?
It was
very frustrating.
I want 4 hours of my time back. There's nothing redeeming about it. It is implausible characters doing implausible things to further an implausible plot, and you're like, it's crap. -3, man. -3. Yeah, you can
Anything
quote
redeeming about this, Aaron? This is
Thurman.
actually
Uma Thurman saves. Do not watch any of the rest of the movie. Watch her scene. It is truly some of the best acting that I have seen. It is painful. It is realistic. It is agonizing. You are riveted. You're on the edge of the couch. It's some of the best acting I have ever seen Uma Thurman do. Minus her scene, pitch the rest of it in the trash. It is pretentious, self-indulgent dribble, full of genitals unnecessarily. But Uma Thurman's scene, yes, worth a watch.
I did like young Joe as an actress. Whoever that actress was, I thought she was
great.
Given an impossible task and made it work. But it didn't save the film at all.
If the actors are good, well, I mean, she was kind of holding everyone else together, honestly. But that's and a good actor is an excuse for making the movie even better, you know, than it is, because it kind of just feels like she's tricking you into believing this script has more weight than it does.
I feel like everyone came to the table buying Lars's pitch and believing that they were making this profound, edgy piece. And I feel like these actors put their trust in him. And if you see the final product, you're like, my trust was misplaced. My time was poorly invested. My genitals are on camera forever. You know, my soggy old man cock that I thought was for art, and it's not. I play a horribly unredeeming character who ends up dead. And like, I got my junk out for nothing. I feel that he did not handle these actors well. And I feel that it was a collective delusion. And I'm sure they were all on set and they're like, oh, we're so edgy, fizzy nipples, check us out. We're so cutting.
I'm sure those scenes when they were shooting them on set, people were like high-fiving after. I'm pretty sure that was happening.
Of course.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, we're so profound and cutting edge.
Yeah.
You're like, yeah, I've really been vulnerable.
That was amazing.
Yeah.
It's like, do you want to shoot that again? It's like, no, I think we got it. I think you nailed it.
And then you see it and you're like, wait a minute. I should have taken another take. Yeah.
What do you think, Aaron? Yes. Give us your rating.
I want to rate it. I wish it was one movie. I wish it was just a perfect fan edit of both movies.
Rated as one.
And maybe we might have.
It's meant to be watched as one.
But well, that's just frustrating because because there's a lot that could have been cut out just to save time easily. It could have been like 50 Stellan Skarsgård scenes. Just and then you'd still have 50 more to work with. Well, like there was too much of that. I also, Warren, when you said that would I recommend this to someone, that lowered my score even more. Because no, if I recommend this to someone, I'm gonna feel bad about it. Like, it's not an enjoyable ride. I don't want to show it to Lauren. And Lauren's, what scenes she saw was like, she was thinking about them, not because they were compelling, because they were very off-putting. It wasn't enjoyable to watch. It was just
it's unpleasant. You keep thinking about the scenes. I haven't been able to stop thinking about it, but I just been composing angry emails to Lars in my head since I've had to watch this.
Send them all. Send them. He deserves them. Send them. But I think, see, I go by by a different rating system where when it hits 50, that's when you're in bad territory. 60%, that's over half. That's good. That's a fine movie. That's bearable. I gave Mortal Kombat 65. So I think this is at least 45. This is I really couldn't. I'm never going to see this shit again.
Aaron later changed his review score to 3100ths because he realized that in Nymphomaniac, Joe was pissed on from the very beginning of the movie and Stellan Skarsgård still wanted to have sex with her.
And I want to stop thinking about it. But I couldn't wait to rant about it here. Like, I needed this. This is my therapy. We've been through a traumatic experience watching this movie. That's why we can't fucking forget it.
We're processing this movie together.
I have been waiting for fucking days since you booked me to rant about how much this movie was a piece of crap.
Well, I hope. So we've been talking now for a little bit over 2 hours. I think the time with us talking about the movie is more well spent than actually watching the movie. So I'm glad that you have been able to join us, and I'm super glad to our guest, Rain DeGrey. Rain, where else can our viewers find you?
RainDeGrey.com, and I'm also Rain DeGrey on Facebook, Twitter, FetLife, Instagram, just everywhere. I'm Rain DeGrey. But if you want to check out my podcast or the advice column or articles or any future classes that I would be teaching, RainDeGrey.com.
You heard it here, guys. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining us. We hope that in some massive oversight on YouTube's part that we're able to monetize this video. We'll see. I think so.
We probably won't use too many clips.
It's still worthwhile, and definitely been very fun to sit with both of you and also you guys watching us. So please tune in to the next one. I don't know when that's going to be. I don't even know when you're going to see this one. Hopefully soon. But thanks again. Join us on Questing Chaos. And I'm Warren. That's Aaron. And I think we're out of here. Yeah.